Welcome to Boxing Fans Talk TV. I'm your host, TDT. You can refer to me as Miss T. You guys see the thumbnail. Mike Tyson's cringeworthy life story, including all the tragic details. He aired on Hulu. Uncensored. I put it up there to see what you guys think about that. You going to watch? Or are you going to ignore it? Y'all tell me what you think. But before we do that, y'all know the drill. Let's turn to. Welcome back to Boxing Fans Talk TV. I'm your host, TDT. You can refer to me as Miss T, or you can call me TT. Um, y'all know at the top of my hour, I always do a water check, water check, water check. I talk about the importance of drinking water. Now, here at Boxing Fans Talk TV, we recommend that everyone drinks at least 100 ounces of water. We all know that 128 ounces makes a gallon. But if you're not a water drinker, and you always can be, some people out there don't like to drink water. I get it. I be like that sometimes in my life. I was like that. I drink a lot of water over here. But we advocate that at least try to drink 2 glasses of water a day. A glass is 8 ounces. Um, Drink water when you first get up. Before your toes hit the ground, before you go do your hygienic routine, go on and take you a glass of water. Have it on a nightstand ready for you. I always suggest get a little fridge to put in your room. It ain't gonna mess up your electric bill, by the way, because I be looking for stuff like that. But I got me a 36 ounce, not 36 ounce, sorry, 36-inch high refrigerator. It's standing about waist high, whatever. And I drink water every day. My water is cold. I don't have to go down to the kitchen. Because when you get down there, you're gonna be like, well, why don't I whip up this or whip up that? But drink your water first thing in the morning before them toes hit the ground. Or you go in the bathroom, do your thing. Um, the body's an engine and the water is the lube. It's a lot of moving parts. Get the moving parts going. Second time you should drink your water is at night before you go to bed. Not looking at TV, not doing anything else. You know what I mean? But before you lay down for your final night's rest for the night. Um, Drink you some water. A lot of reads going on. Recharging, rebooting, revamping. and you're cleaning out toxins. The average person lose between 900 or burn between 900 and 1,000 calories at night when they sleep. Um, that's more than you could do in a hardcore workout. Trust me, I've measured it. So drink your water then, and if you don't drink water at all, them the two times you should. Because I know people like their hottie toddies at night. They like their coffee in the morning or their tea throughout the day. But those two times, relegate that to drinking water. Today, I'm at my usual 10 bottles of water today. I drank 8-ounce bottles. So that's about 80. I have more water to drink before I go to sleep tonight. Remember, your day starts after midnight. So, once midnight strike, you're starting a new day. Everything you drink from that day till 11:59 that night is what you drank in the day. And it all matters. So drink your water, drink your water, drink your water. We'll do a little housekeeping. Keeping. Please hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Subscribe button if you haven't already done so. If you already have, you're locked in. So please hit the like and share button. And on the replays, if you watch it, leave a comment under the video. I read them all, and I take heed to some of them. I'm open minded, but I am still me. I'm just plain old TT. So remember that when you send in your comments. If you go negative, I just laugh you off and keep it pushing. But I do listen to everything everybody has to say. Normally at the top of my hour, I do some questions. I'm gonna put up a poster of some type to remind people to watch me this Sunday, because I decided to address all the questions on this Sunday at 1300. That's military time, or 1 p.m. for the rest of y'all, Eastern Standard Time. And this week's questions, or these last couple of weeks, I've had a lot of questions about dieting or losing weight, and just in regards to the body. For those of you who don't know, I normally have a Sunday show. If I've said everything I can say, I don't repeat myself. I just let it chill until I feel like it's enough information, worthy enough for me to do a show. Sometimes I talk about the things during my weekly show, which is boxing. I'll just add it in because I'm all about finding the health in you, and that's my little side business. I've been doing it for years. It's going on something like 8 years now, and I started it for selfish reasons. And guess what? I you know, I proved something that I didn't know before. Um, but please hit the like, share, and subscribe. Um, I want to welcome to the building though, Jay Yo. What's popping, King? He said I definitely wouldn't watch. Mike Tyson has had 3 sexual assaults that I know of. Teddy Allen's niece, Robin Givens, and the woman from the hotel. 3 separate incidents, same alleged person. I feel you, King. Jerry Tasker is in here. He said, "Hey, Queenie, what's good, Jerry? Let me set you up." But Jerry, I gotta cook first. But I'm gonna set you up. I'm gonna turn them on. Let me see. Hold up, Jerry. I'm setting it up right now. I don't know why I forget to that when I first come on. But Jerry, oh Jerry didn't want to come on today. Try one more time, Jerry. All right, Jerry, hold tight. I'll let you know it's time to call in. But I'm gonna cook in it. Now, here's a word from my sponsor. That's a word from my sponsor. Now, I know y'all see the title. Mike Tyson cringeworthy life story, including all the tragic details, will be aired on Hulu, uncensored. So Mike Tyson has a new that is on Hulu about his life. Considered it's considered a series, like a small mini series, and it's starring Trevante Rose. He's the guy who's playing Mike Tyson, and Laura Harrison or Harriet. I'm sorry if I pronounced the name wrong. She's playing Robin Givens, his ex-wife, and it's also starring Russell Hornsby. And he's playing Don King. And it's supposed to be a lot of good actors in this series, but it's supposed to be um, a hard hitting piece, pulling no punches, giving the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's kind of what they saying. I'm paraphrasing. The series will focus on Tyson's weakness, his strengths, his crimes, etc. Everything about Mike Tyson. Um, he will also, Mike Tyson himself, be narrating this series. And it's a no holds barred depiction of his beginnings to becoming the youngest heavyweight champion of the world, to marriage, to his rape, his conviction, his comeback, and everything else. I don't know exactly how far into the future is it gonna take it up to current times, but it seems like it's gonna cover all the hot ticket items. And so the series is called Mike, but it's really asking the question, "Who am I?" It's almost like he's asking that question, "Who am I?" They saying they ain't gonna pull no punches. They gonna show everything. They ain't gonna sugarcoat nothing. They gonna show everything. Mike also feels his life is rearing to a close. He said as much on his show, Hot Boxing, that's the name of his show, when talking with one of his guests, Sean McFarlane, who is a therapist. And I didn't catch the show, but I did check into it to make sure it was on the up and up, because I wouldn't bring you guys nothing that wasn't straight up. But apparently he's starting to feel like he don't got much time left on Earth. If y'all remember, maybe a couple of days ago, a week or so ago, he supposedly had visited Terrence Crawford. You seen Mike walking away from that visit, looking hot mess, looking like he walking on hooves, like he hurt. And so I don't know how bad his condition is or how true anything is, but I'll read you from the New York Post what it says. Mike Tyson believes at times that his fate is imminent. On his podcast, Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson, the former heavyweight boxing champ had therapist Sean McFarlane, who specializes in trauma and addiction, on as a guest and told him he feels he's inching closer to death. We're all going to die one day, of course, Tyson said. Then when I look in the mirror, I see those little spots on my face. I say, wow, that means my expiration date is coming close really soon. The 56-year-old Tyson has become very philosophical and introspective. And before addressing his mortality, spoke about how money does not bring the happiness and security that those who have never had it might suspect. It's a short article. Money don't mean shit to me, Tyson said. I always tell people they think money's going to make them happy. They've never had money before. When you have a lot of money, you can't expect nobody to love you. How am I going to confess my love to you when you have $500 billion? Uh, I just have a little question. When did Mike have $500 billion? But I digress. A false sense of security You believe nothing can happen. You don't believe the banks could collapse. You believe that you're invincible. And when you have a lot of money, which isn't true. That's why I always say money is a false sense of security. Tyson said he has conversations with his wife, but she says she wants money for security. And then he replies, "What security?" He asks. I don't know. When you put money in your bank and you get a check every week and you can live for the rest of your life, is that security? That means you won't catch a disease, can't get hit by a car, you can't jump off of a bridge. I don't know. Is that security? Can money secure you from that? And that's pretty much what the article said. And Mike, I don't know. I don't know if he say he in his feelings or anything, but what's up? ATL is in the building. He said, "Salute, Queen." Fucks with Tyson shouted. I like how you your name all the time. but, but that's how Mike feels. I don't know if he going through men menopause or whatever. But I know I can tell you this in your 40s, and if anybody's in their 40s, speak on it. When you get in your 40s, I call it the morbid year because never have you thought more about death in your 40s. It's not, it can be very, if you let it. You have to be a strong minded person. I think we all go through that, like we think morbidly in our 40s. Why? Because it's a lot of changes. I can speak from a woman's perspective. I don't really know what men go through when they in their 40s, but I would suspect because of medical issues, a lot of people think morbidly. So you start, having reflection, you know, thinking about the past, start reflecting on how you could have done better, what you maybe should have done, wishing you had a do over, a whole lot of stuff. Some people get it later, some people get it now, some people in their 50s. Mike is 56. But the way he was walking in that video clip from visiting Terrence Crawford, and he was walking like he had the gout. In my humble, humble voice, please, please, everybody, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Even if you don't watch boxing shows, hit the subscribe button. Show your love. That's it. But ATL said, I've been doing this since I remember. Oh my goodness. I didn't even get to it till I was in my 40s. And I was like, why? I don't remember in my 20s or 30s thinking like that. Just maybe because you start seeing your drop. That takes a toll on you mentally. Like, just did you hear about so and so they died? Oh, they didn't wake up in the morning. They didn't you be like, what? What? And, that invincibility that you might have had when you were young, don't have it no more. Because I know in my 20s, I always felt strong. Even being sick, I always felt strong. You know. So I don't know. You guys tell me what you think. Jerry, you can call in. I'm dropping the link. But Jerry own it.
Call from.
That's Jerry.
What up, Jerry? Who's
How
on
you doing
it?
today?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing okay today, but I'm in my 50s, so I know just what you're saying about in the 40s when you start reflecting on life, and and it's a whole different mindset.
Yeah. So my daughter is cooking and it smells so good. Why she do this to me? That girl could cook.
Oh
Ooh,
yeah, what you cooking?
I don't even know, but it smells good. I don't know, some kind of meat. Like, what's crazy, Jerry? A side story. Growing up, I was one of them rebellious person. My mom was from the generation she was from. So she would be like, girl, get in here and learn how to cook this, flip this chicken and do this, pick these pots together. I'm like, nope, that's not what I'm gonna be. I ain't finna be nobody's Betty Crocker. And I was rebellious. I refused, right? And I went the whole time, most of my 20s. I didn't even have my first kid, my daughter, until yeah, I was turning 30. So she was like, what got me, Jerry, was you buy your little girl the little kitchenware set. It had a microwave, and it had the little food, Thanksgiving dinner, little food put in the tray, had sensors. So when you put it in the oven, it makes a sound of whatever that is. Or if it needs to make a boiling sound, a sizzling sound, it'll do that. The microwave had a fake popcorn bag, and it made the popcorn sound. So one day I'm seeing her cook, and I'm seeing her play with this thing every day, and I keep seeing her trying to stuff the turkey in the microwave, which it don't fit. So I called my mom. I was talking to her. I was like, you know what? That honey be trying to stick that turkey in the microwave. Where did she get that from? I never showed her that. My mama said, monkey see, monkey do. That shit got to me, Jerry. Jerry, I started clicking pots together ever since, and I learned how to cook. But
Yeah.
what she's showing me is you just let people be them. They'll learn what they want to. I never really taught her. I never put that pressure on her that the girl can season some meat. Oh, God.
Well, maybe it was because you wasn't cooking that she learned to cook.
No, no, but Jerry, I rectified that when she was like, because I guess she was like 2. I can see what you're saying though, but I think she was like 2 or 3 when she was doing that, and I learned how to cook. That like right on spot. I learned how to cook. Within months,
Right.
I could cook. You know what I'm saying? I could. I
Uh,
know how to cook some things, but before that, but like cook. Like I could really make a meal. Have people unbuttoning it. Like, oh my God, that was good. I learned how to cook because of me seeing her do that. Because I was like, I never taught you that. Why are you doing that? So
because
I,
she wanted to eat. She wanted a cooked meal. My wife couldn't cook when I married her. Her mother told me, she said she can't cook nothing but instant mashed potatoes and blueberry muffins.
mm,
I said, well, she's gonna have to do better than that because I eat more shit than that. But so she learned how to cook. I cook. I cook about half the time here in my house. I'm a good cook. And my daughter, from a young age, like yours, she took the cooking. I used to involve her with me. When I was cooking something, I would get her involved. And she only got a couple of dishes that she can cook, but she cooks them well. You know.
my
But let me
daughter,
talk a little bit about Mike Tyson.
right, right.
Mike Tyson, back when he had that rape conviction went down, man, everybody was talking about it. It's so hard to say, when you're not in that room. I mean,
So
I,
you believe?
I
I mean, and listen, guys, it's a safe zone. ATI did put the link in. It's a safe zone. You guys can tell me how y'all feel. No judgment over here. No judgment. I don't judge people. I told you. I told y'all
yeah,
all
it's
the
hard to
time. I
say,
respect y'all feelings. So say the truth.
yeah. To me, it's one of the lowest acts a man can perform is to take that from a woman. Uh, but being an adult and dealing with women most of my life, I know that, unless you're in that room, it's hard to really say what really went down in there. You know what I mean? Women allege sometimes, and trust me, I got women's back when, a lot of times they'll come out later. Will say, and a lot of women will get right on and say, well, why didn't you say something then? Or, why now? But, a lot of times rape victims are very ashamed and they get chastised. And so they're reluctant to come forward. And then later in life, when them same women build confidence and self assurance, then they feel a little bit more emboldened to speak their truth. But it's not always easy, for a woman, when they been raped and they don't say so. It's just not cut and dry like a lot of people try to portray it as being. And but like I say, the other point is there's a lot of women that are trifling, and they'll say it for reasons, they will be lying and trying to do something that's advantageous for themselves. And without being there, it's hard to really say. And you got to consider too, Mike Tyson being a young athlete, a rich guy. I mean, he's gonna have a lot of women, and there's gonna be situation. You see me? You see what I'm saying? It's a wonder he wasn't involved in even more situations.
So
You
Jerry,
know?
let me ask you this. So considering this is a boxing show, so we're gonna try to correlate it to boxing. We talking about Mike Tyson. Think that first I have to ask, do you think that he was on something that made him more aggressive, more apt to want to be taking shit from people, so to speak, or do you think that that was just his natural way from his humble beginnings? Because he always rob and do people wrong and stuff when he was growing up.
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, Tyson's admitted to being a partier most of his career. He likes his cocaine and his pot, and he's admitted to being a partier. But just being a young man, uh, uh, you know, we're, there's already a built-in animal magnetism to sexuality that already built in. And then if you're a young man who's famous and a good-looking athlete with money, that means you kind of get a lot of anything that you want almost. And if he is a rapist in the true definition of what a rapist is, it's they want the ones they can't get. You feel me?
But they
They
say it's that rape is like a power. It's not
Yeah, they say it's
necessarily
a
as
violent
sexual.
crime, right? Right. Yeah, they say it's a crime of violence, and I can see why they say that. Uh, but what I'm saying, for me, a true rapist they want what they can't have more. That's what they'll commit the rape act for, to take something that they can't have, because there was no way that Mike Tyson was hard up for women. Let's say at that time.
Do you think
I mean,
young
that
men
guy
who
probably had as many women as he wanted.
you think in his case, or just any man's case, is it something that they'll grow out of, or is it something that they never grow out of? Like I feel that way
Hmm,
about
that's a
pedophiles.
good question.
They don't ever grow out of that shit. So
Yeah,
what do
I
you
would
do
say
with
the
them?
same thing. Yeah, I would say the same thing. If you can convince yourself even one time that it's okay to do that, then you got it in your mental capacity to convince yourself again. And that's not to say that people can't change, because I've seen people that were drug addicts and worse, and they changed their life. But just from a human nature standpoint, for me, if in your mind, because what comes out of your mouth is what comes out of your mouth, and you can say you've changed, but in your mind, if you convince yourself before that it was okay to do that, probably something still in that fucking mind that could go there again under the right circumstances and convince yourself again that that was okay. You know what I mean? I just don't know if that's truly what he is, because I think if that's what he was, it would be a lot more incidents like Bill Cosby.
Well, sometimes do you think, okay, let me ask you this, because you have high powered people that you know. Do you think it's an association with that money, power, respect, because it seemed to be the way that, it just seemed to be the way that the people who come into fame and fortune that wasn't born with it, they change. And sometimes they do egregious shit. So I don't like you, I don't know if it's a continuing chronic thing like a Bill Cosby, or is it something that came with the fame and fortune? And if you think it comes with that, do you think that boxers, since we talk it's a boxing show, do you think that there should be a prep class for a couple of things I have suggested? speech classes. You know, I'm talking like boxers coming into um, their their career, and right in the beginning, they will do well to take a speech class, a finance class, or some kind of math class, and like
Oh
some
yeah,
just
well,
sort of business,
yeah.
just a couple of classes. You don't have to get a degree, but just take some kind of formal training to help prepare you for the life you're stepping in. What you think about that?
Yeah, I mean that would be great if boxing had its shit together, like the NFL or something like that, where they do have programs where they prep young athletes on pitfalls and etiquette and all of that shit. But boxing's way too fucked up for that. Half the times the fighters don't even get paid what they're supposed to get paid. Uh, because the promoters screw them out of money. So you know how boxing is.
But should
I
it be
mean
a
that was
free
that.
thing? Should it be a
Huh?
free thing that promoters and they can't be allowed to recoup or ask for that money back from the boxing in their pay, but promoters should offer a program for all their stables, the people in their stables, those preliminary things that's going to just help them in their career uh, without trying to seek some kind of recouping of however much they got to pay into that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
if Bob Arum had programs within his company and offer it to whoever wants to. I ain't gonna say have to make some do it, but you should at least have it available in case anybody want to take advantage of it. That shouldn't break a promoter.
no, I mean I think it's a great idea. The premise of it is a great idea. I just in boxing, I don't see it happening at all. You know, even the drug testing in boxing is iffy. Uh, Boxing don't have its shit together. Boxing's an unorganized sport, huh? That's the thing. I've learned to chalk up a lot of what goes on in boxing as just what I call the ugly charm of boxing, because the the piracy and the cronyism and the corruption in boxing is basically always been there, and it's almost fitting that it would be, being that it's such a brutal carnal sport. Basically going in there, beating on somebody, and getting beat on. So it's the closest thing that we have, I think, to a primitive carnal nature as far as sports. Uh, Minus the UFC, because that's even more brutal with their lack of rules. And in boxing, you one standard rule in boxing, you can't hit a person when they're down. But in the UFC, these guys move faster. At no other point do they move. The guy goes down. A lot of times they'll be knocked out because they only wear those 4-ounce gloves, so they get a lot of knockouts over there. And the guy will get hit, knocked out, and by the time he goes down, the other guy's running over there to land a blow right to his unconscious face.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, I agree that
That's
it's more
why.
primal in UFC and hey,
Yeah, that's why I don't. That sport. I've watched it. I've bought UFC cards, but I got a problem with that part of it. Uh, you know. But anyway, getting back to Tyson, I'm not sure that Tyson. Something tells me if he was a real rapist, it'd have been way more incidences of him doing it. You know what I mean?
it's funny and like there's no judgment zone here. Um, I kind of believe that he did do it, um, only because his aggressive nature. Um, Also, I'm reminded of a picture. You remember when him and Robin Givens did an interview? I don't know if it was Diane Sawyer or Barbara
Yeah, I
Walters or
remember.
somebody, and she was talking like, "This motherfucker is a monster." Like they both sitting there, and the picture that she's painting as they sitting there is like, you know, um, and I remember thinking, dude, why are you not checking that shit? Because and maybe this is my woman's mind clouding it for how a guy would see it. Because I'm thinking you guys would think like anybody would think. It's not a man or woman, somebody of something egregious. You check their ass, especially if it's not wrong. And he never checked it. He just sat there and smiled. I didn't get that. You remember that?
Yes, I remember that interview. Um, but to keep it in a little bit of tighter context, though, you got to consider Tyson was very young, and coming from where he came from, you know, according to what I've read about him, he was a shy kind of introvert most of his upbringing. Now, he had had times where he had acted out violently, and the same thing that a lot of young men do. Um, I mean, he's spoken himself about things that he's done in the past that he's not proud of, and then certainly nothing to be proud of. But you have to consider where he came from, and not maybe having a father figure or having the right people in his life. And by the time he got around to that interview, I mean, you're talking about a kid from Brownsville, New York, who grew up in the ghetto, and here he is on the set of um, a major television with all the cameras and everything, and he's in a really expensive house, and it's a wonder the motherfucker's really even still alive. Because I applaud anyone who's been able to have millions of dollars when they were young and they're still alive. Because you gotta figure for most of his life and his young life, it was all you want whenever you want it. You see what I mean? A total life of indulgence. So he had all that money to where if he wanted coke, he could just have as much of it as he wanted. If he wanted women, he could just have as much of that as he wanted. And that a lot of people don't survive a lifestyle like that. So
And
anyone,
Jerry, I gotta
yeah,
ask you, is that something really relegated to men or is that men and women alike? You hear the stories. It's like I be saying to myself, how many athlete stories do we gotta hear like that before anybody get it? Like I only gotta hear it once. And again, I'm a woman thinking this and I don't know how men calculate or maneuver through something like that. Like how many times do a young man got to see an egregious story like that? Look, Tyson had the world at his feet. Look what happened. He wound up going to jail, losing everything because of a weakness, like or a need to feel dominant over women. I mean, you beating dudes in the ring. You don't need to throw women on the Barbie. You know what I'm saying? Throw that extra shrimp on the Barbie. You already won. If you beating guys like you beating guys, you don't need
but that's
to.
what I'm saying. I don't know. I mean, how do we know what really went down in there? I tend to think that if he was a rapist, a real rapist, he probably would have done it again. It seems only logical that it wouldn't just be one incident case because he never raped Robin Givens. She never made that
No, no,
allegation
she
that he
did. She did.
she did.
Yeah, look at what the guy say. J.O. said. J.O. said, I definitely wouldn't watch. Mike Tyson has had 3 sexual assaults that I know of. Teddy Atlas. He's, as you heard Teddy talk about that. We don't know. We just talking about what was alleged. And Robin Givens and the woman from the hotel. So Robin
Yeah,
Givens.
but I mean, what Teddy Atlas? I mean, I've heard Teddy Atlas talk about what happened there. Mike Tyson was like a 15, 16-year-old kid, and he pinched her butt. I mean, that's not that big of a deal. I mean, I wouldn't, to me, I mean, that's not that big of a deal. Especially you don't know she might have been flaunting her ass in front of him and playing with him.
But you
And
know
he's
what,
15,
Teddy,
16
it
years.
was a big enough deal that Teddy was trying to get at his neck, and like words like I'll kill you" or whatever, and the racial stuff got racial a little bit. I ain't saying I'm not standing here calling Teddy Atlas racist because I don't know. I don't pay too much attention to know anything really about him. I know of him pretty much, but I know that from stories I've heard that it got to that point. he was just that mad at Mike. He let him know, look, boy, like he used racial stuff or whatever. Maybe he felt like he needed to get that way. Somebody like Mike, but again, I will correct you on this, Jerry. There are men who are chronic rapists. Indeed, there's chronic rapists, but there are also men who have done that for one off. This world is filled with one offs, and they know who they are.
With what? What?
One
When you
offs,
say
I
one
call
off,
them one offs. Like you did
one
the deed once, maybe in your life. An event was going on, like peer pressure, whatever the case. There's this world is filled with men who have done a one off. This is something women know. All of us know this. And
mm,
I'm not saying that that's you, Jerry, or any man listening. I'm not saying that that is y'all. But when we talk to our OGs, because you guys have y'all OGs, the older men that can tell you a thing or two. We got that too, women. And this is something that they groom and prepare us to understand and know. It can happen. Sometimes it be the least likely person, the person that don't even fit the bill as far as looks or whatever, that they would be into some shit like that. A person that has a character, a personality that you wouldn't even think would do some shit like that, but
yeah,
they one offs. And
like Bill Cosby.
well, I don't call him one off.
See. Now that's who I believe them women, and I could believe Bill Cosby is a rape for the same reasons that you're saying right there, because it wasn't just one woman or even two, or one woman claiming, hey, he pinched my ass, or just some minor sexual assault. Is 50, 60 women. And Bill Cosby, I mean, Bill Cosby wasn't just loved in the black community. He was equally loved in the white community. I grew up watching Bill Cosby. Fat Albert, the Cosby Show, we all did. And he wasn't just America's black dad. He was highly regarded, and very uncharacteristic to think that he would have been doing that.
Exactly.
But
And he
But you
did,
also
didn't
notice is that he did it a whole bunch of times.
he? Right.
Like Tyson, the only one I'm aware of, Tyson, the only rape charge is what was her name, Tawana Brawley, is that one. What's his name is the girl he married. She never brought rape charges on him.
Robert
I know
Givens
that.
alluded to that.
What's
Like
that?
I have to go back and watch those old clips, but she
I
definitely
don't know,
alluded to
but
that.
in that Diane Sawyer interview, she claims that she didn't
Rough,
elaborate much. She just said, he's an animal, and this
he
and that.
assaults her. That's a translation. I mean, she
What's that?
alluded to that. Whether anybody took, nobody came behind that interview and said, for the record, people, anybody who's watching, she never came. I'm not saying she came. Nobody came behind that interview and said, you know what, you raped Robin Givens. No,
Well,
but
that's what I'm
she
talking
definitely
about,
painted
bringing
the picture
charges.
like he assaults her.
Yeah, but that's what I'm talking. I'm talking about bringing a charge, like a formal charge.
But that won't
Not
happen with a lot of people. I'm gonna ask you, have you ever seen this movie called Casualties? I think it's called Casualties of War with Michael. Is it Michael Keaton? Is that how you say his name? The little boy, the
yeah,
little guy that was on Family Ties, and Sean Penn. You ever see that movie?
no,
Okay, in that movie, they supposed to be jumping, during Vietnam, carrying out their mission, and they run across a hut. The question is, saying as nice as I can, with this young girl. It wasn't a grown woman, a girl, and they raped her. And some of them did not want to do it, but they're a team. Like when you out there in the bush or desert and you're fighting, whatever, you're at war and all that. The closeness bond I can't even put into words that you have with your team is you putting your life in their hands they are doing the same with you. So you have this unshakable bond, and it's a lot of times it's monkey see, monkey do. A lot of mistakes happen. Sometimes you can accidentally kill your own your own side. Those bad things do happen inadvertently, and sometimes when they were fighting Vietnam, there were stories like this. This was based on a story, but Michael Keaton's character refused to do it, but he was helpless, kind of a weak to just all the way put an end to it. He felt he ran the gamut of emotions because if he put his foot down, because he knew it was right to put the foot down, it was right to say, "Do not take this girl," but he was powerless to do that with his teams because of how they was making him feel like either with us or against us type thing. And some of them took their turn, but only a couple of them over and over. And they kept taking this girl with them as they going on their mission. She was getting sick. She got to a point she just couldn't take it no more. And she tried to run, but they didn't want her to say nothing. They was holding her mouth because she would have, towards the end of the movie, because she would have alerted the people they fighting against to their presence, right? So they was trying to hold her mouth and all that. And she finally was like, I don't give a fuck. And she got up and started screaming and yelling. And they shot her dead. But their justification, like she was gonna tell them our presence and all that. But the powers that be was like, you wouldn't have even had to worry about that if you but not for you, but you did. And they gave them time. But there was that one guy in that group that he didn't want to do it, but he succumbed to peer pressure. And this is why I say one offs. Situations like that mob mentality, or that when you get together, that shit can happen.
Oh, sure. Listen, I'm not saying Tyson didn't do it because, again, without being in there and really knowing what went down right at the point of injury, so to speak, um, I can't say that he didn't do it, and he was found guilty of it. Um, but I didn't believe Bill Cosby did it. It wasn't until I watched that show. I don't know if you've seen that show. A whole lot of the women that accused him of rape, I think Showtime did a documentary, and they went over the court proceedings and the whole thing. And a lot of these women um, were part of that documentary, and they were giving their own personal testimony. And most of them blamed themselves, really. They didn't get any money out of it. So I had someone I used to know. She was telling me, "Yeah, the women just getting for money. They're getting for money." But the problem was they didn't get any money. It wasn't a civil lawsuit where they were suing Bill Cosby. It was a criminal case.
Yeah.
But the problem was the statute had long since expired, so they really didn't have a really a strong case. Well, they had a strong case circumstantially, but because of the statute, that was complicating things. But just listening to those women, a lot of them, were young actresses at the time, and Bill Cosby was just huge. I mean, he was arguably the biggest star in Hollywood, and the Huxtables and everything was at its peak, and Bill was very powerful, very real powerful guy. And plus, he's a superstar, right? So a lot of people, hell, if he would have told me, "Hey, come back to my hotel room and let's hang out for a while," I probably would have went. you know, uh, Being that he's a famous guy. So a lot of these young women, and they were actresses, and let's face it, some of them probably thought, "Hey, this might be advantageous for me to go hang out with Bill Cosby." But there's a difference between that and him drugging these women and taking advantage of them, because that's rape. I mean, that's as pure as it gets. Um,
I
and
know a
really,
lot of people be on the fence with that one. Some people, even in my family, some people like he ain't never do that. But again, the evidence is there. I will say that the justice world messed up because they did some illegal legal maneuvering. That makes sense. Illegally, they did some maneuvering to get the conviction, and this is why he's out today.
Well,
Um,
I know what they did. You know what they did?
but
This is what happened back in the mid '80s. Bill Cosby was under fire for rape charges back then, and this was back when he was, on top of the world, so to speak. And what he did is he wound up paying the girl off, and the charges were basically dropped. But he admitted guilt to a large extent, and he basically admitted to drugging girls and using quaaludes to drug girls and then take advantage of them. And I heard this, and in that documentary that I'm talking about, they play, they talk about this. Thing is, as part of his admission and settling of the case, those files were to be closed and not opened again. You feel me? What he said under oath and what he admitted to was not supposed to go any further than what was agreed to right there, which was it was that it would be basically they closed the book on it. But when all them women brought all the charges and when he actually went to court, they didn't leave that sealed like that. And the prosecutor said that that was the deal that the other prosecutor made back then, and it didn't have nothing to do with him. And but the thing is, on a technicality, Bill Cosby got off because even though he did say that and it was damning and damaging, again, the courts had made a deal as part of his admission that it wasn't to be, it was supposed to be sealed. You feel me?
and see, and knowing that, like, I do agree that there's laws and procedures that we must follow, no matter how much we like them or not. And I'll be the first to be the person complaining about some shit if it didn't go my way. I'm not trying to sound hypocritical, but yeah, you laughing, but I'm serious. I would be like, this is bullshit, a lot of, but
Yeah,
but
right.
at the same time, you know, we have to have something that's etched in stone, as far as laws and the way we proceed in this country. Otherwise, we're living a chaotic life, and that serves no purpose for anybody. So, technically, he's supposed. I support that too. He technically was wrong in how they proceeded with their legal findings and conviction for him. So technically, he got to get off. And you will see a lot of people who committed some crimes get out on reasons like that. And you'll see a lot of people who commit crimes and don't get nothing, or people who's innocent altogether and go down for something that they didn't do. It's not perfect, but it's a structure that we have in place, and it keeps us from being wild and out of control. And so some got to give in to it. Like I said, I'll be the first.
Well, in that particular case, I don't know that it was so much about the legalities as it was the prosecutor, in order to get the admission and the plea that he got from Bill Cosby, that was a condition of it. You see, so it wasn't so much about the legality; it was what the prosecutor made a deal for. And in
That's
that
what I'm
case,
talking about,
okay,
Jerry. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the new
yeah,
prosecutor who used that shit illegally.
oh, right,
Yeah,
right.
he
Well,
did
see,
some.
to me, yeah, that's where man, if you got lawyers and they're willing to litigate, and you can find a loophole, you can do what happens there. You can find a technicality, and even though you may be guilty as hell, you can walk. And to me, that's not cool. That's why people hate lawyers so much, and why the court system
I hate
oftentimes.
I hate the justice system because how they can make people okay with the justice system across the board when you talk about any and everything. Have some fairness. That's all you got to do. That is the cure. Be fair across the board, and it'll be mum's the word. You'll rarely have protests or people having outrage or this, that, and the other. But back to Mike Tyson. Even though you said you wasn't there, and I feel you, Jared. None of us were. But he did get convicted and he did serve time. Now, if he's convicted of what was alleged to have happened, do you think he served enough time? Because it seemed like he wasn't in jail for that long. But then I'm thinking about it back in the days, and you go all the way back to the early 70s. You don't even need to go further back because the further back you go, the less strict the consequences were for stuff like this. But he didn't. It seemed like he was in there. Maybe he lost a year or two of his life, 3. I don't know, but it won't long. And then he was out. He was still a young man. You think that was a
First,
fair punishment?
uh, first degree rape, no, 3 years is not enough. Not even nearly. Hard to say what is a proper, you know, a punishment for that. And there's variables, right? Like, so you got rape, and then if you got rape that occurs with a beating and a violent rape, then that's even worse. And for me, lock a motherfucker under the jail as far as I'm concerned, because like I say, when a person can convince themselves that that's okay, it's hard to say what else they might be able to convince themselves of. There's a demon inside there. Not knowing the nature or what if it was second degree or third degree, or they have another charge for rape that's partly consensual type of thing. It gets complicated. Um, I don't know. I don't mean to keep harkening back to Bill Cosby, but just again, when there's multiple, see, that's what really distinguishes it for me, is multiple. If it's just one, then that doesn't mean he didn't do it. No, but to me, just one, then that maybe raises a little bit of an eyebrow, and you start looking at circumstances. You start looking at she willingly went back to the hotel with him, and you start looking at things just to try to make sure. But when it's dozens, and to me, that's what a real rapist is going to do. He's going to do it multiple times because it's a sickness, and it's a compulsion that goes beyond a sexual act. They say it's a crime of violence, and it probably is. And it's kind of like a serial killer. They don't just do it one time. It's a compulsion with them that's where they get the thrill. Tyson clearly didn't need to rape Tawanda Brawley to have sex with a good looking young female. No way. I mean, he probably had the pick of the litter every single night. Uh, but if he was a real rapist, that's what I'm saying. He probably would have. It would have been a compulsive behaviorism that he couldn't control himself, and he did it a whole bunch of times.
Yeah,
Who
and,
knows?
and I,
Yeah,
I
he
don't
did.
remember. I don't remember any soliloquy that he gave. Like, I'm reminded of Tupac. Tupac said, and like you said, I said I agree. I said could have had the pick of the litter. He didn't have to resort to those measures to get no ass. I
No.
totally agree. But like Tupac definitely didn't have to resort to none of that shit. He could have just said, "Hey, girl, pull your drawers off. Drawers coming off." But Tupac said, he said, "I can't have it. The world, I can't leave this world having people think that I would do something like that to any woman." And then he just started going through his, because he was kind of like an activist, like how people think they're activists today. I say that respectfully because I have to compare activists to yesteryear's activists, and these times the activists to me measure up. That's just personally how I feel. But he was an activist then. He was like, I just no, not what I believe in and the type person I am. Remember Tupac got arrested too for getting out banging with some cops. He didn't know they was cops. He just saw an infraction towards a black person by these two white cops that was racially based. And instead of leaving that black guy on his lonesome, which he could have done, ain't no telling how that story would have ended up. He got out and fought for the guy and shot at them or whatever. But they never got over that shit. I personally don't believe Tupac raped anybody, but it was his protest of it all, which I didn't hear from Tyson back then in them days. I didn't get myself wrapped up in it and all that because I understand that there always can be a one off. But what you heard a lot back then was she came to his room in the middle of the night. What you think she was coming for? And I,
Yep.
I don't like when people say that, Jared, but at the same time, women and men both say shit like that. We all say shit like that. Like, why the fuck you burn
I've
that
heard
shit?
more women. I've heard more women say that
That's true.
because of just what you were saying a little while ago. Women, as young girls, if they got a good mother and an aunt and stuff in their life, they'll tell them what to look out for in men, and they warn them about how men can be predators and stuff. And so for her to go up there with him to his hotel in the middle of the night, I mean, that doesn't give him carte blanche to just take what he wants. Certainly not. But as adults, we know that there's situations and circumstances and mixed signals and things like that, you know. But like I
But
say,
you
without
but you
being in his
wonder
room,
how didn't she get the lesson? If all of us know this lesson, how come she didn't get that memo? Like that's what
uh,
we be sitting there like, girl, didn't you
well, that's
know?
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's what everybody who came to Tyson's defense said that, which is what you typically hear. Is what you heard in the Bill Cosby case. What did these women go back to his room for? They had to have known, but I don't really see it like that. You know, and even with her, even with the girl that night with Tyson. I mean, this is Mike Tyson. He's a fucking heavyweight champion of the world. He's a super rich bachelor. Uh, a lot of girls are going to be enamored by him, you know, and maybe talked into going back to the room. You know, I remember about the testimony. She claimed that he wanted to go back there to change his shoes or something. Like you know, he said he just wanted to drop in and do something, you know, do something like that. And I could believe, you know, a player would say something like that and see if that would work. It's just the physical act. The physical act. Like, let's say they went in there and he started making advancements towards her, and she did make out with him, you know, and she did, you know, make say kissing with him and making out and stuff. Well, that's okay too because that's what humans do. But I guess what it really comes down to is when it came time for a point of entry, if she said no and really meant no, and he forced himself on her, which
That's why the
obviously,
OGs say you don't even play around because it is a fact, whether guys believe it or not. Guys, I always say guys can talk themselves right out of it, or they could do or say something, or maybe it's their hygiene. You know what I'm saying? Something. Girls are quick to be like and halt leading up to or in the middle of like you just never know. These things can happen, and that's why I would say to any young man in my family, be careful. You know,
oh yeah,
I always say too, and we're much better in this country with mixed couples and stuff. And so I would say, like, especially, talking to members of my family, young men, because we're black. I'll be like, you better be careful about doing stuff like that because sometimes you can have a girl that likes it and wants to do it, but she don't want to tell her family. And the easiest thing to say is you took it. So, I would tell the young guys and my nephews, I'd be like, make sure you advertise, meaning go on a date with this woman. Let it be known and let people see that she's in agreement with all this pimping that you're giving her, out on Front Street, rather than to move in silence and stealth. You don't want to play around with stuff like that. I had a family member do a lot of time behind somebody hollering that, but they were together. I remember. I, like did a lot of time. Life ruined, but so you have to be careful. But this series, not to just harp on just the rape part of it, because they say they're gonna show it. No holds bars. He's not pulling any punches. They gonna show the good, the bad, the ugly, but it's focusing on his weakness, his strengths, any crimes he was a part of, his compassion for humanity, and for animals. It's gonna show everything, and without no chaser, uncensored. And I believe that they're gonna do that. That's why I'm interested in watching it because I don't know if you have seen his Broadway show.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Um, oh, that was enlightening. He was. I mean, I don't know how more truthful he can be. You know,
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. I thought it was candid, um, and it was good, and he did well. Uh, I like Mike Tyson, and I always liked him, even back when there was times that I didn't like him. But I don't know, he's got something likable about him, even though sometimes when you look at him, he looks crazy as hell, man. Looks like he could be. He looks like a guy who could be the monster that some claim that he is. I mean, I don't know. A lot more times when I look at him, I see a big kid and a likable guy. So
he
what
said.
can
He said, "I'll eat your babies." That shit
yeah,
fucked me up. I'm like,
he said
"You
that,
gonna
but
suck a dick?"
yeah, but he was being
Yeah,
outlandish.
I know. I know. But back then, I was like, "That's the only way he gonna eat another man's babies."
Yeah,
That shit fucked
but
me
but
up
they
all the way.
but Tyson knows, like a lot of fighters, especially from his era, know, they know how to say shit to get people to promote, and that was outrageous for him to say that, but he knew that. He knew that when he said it. And after the fight, you heard him say he loved Lennox Lewis. He knew Lennox Lewis, and he knew his mom, and those guys had sparred when they were kids, plenty of times, and But he said that, and because that was setting up a big fight with Lennox, and so that never bothered me. One of the most candid moments I remember of Tyson's career is, yeah, after he bit Holyfield and Jim Gray went back to the back and interviewed him. I took some balls right there
Oh,
because
Jim
Tyson had
Gray.
already, yeah,
All right.
because Jim Gray, because Tyson had already lost his shit in the ring and bit Holyfield's ear twice and was
Yeah.
clearly, going crazy. And Jim Gray was like, "Yeah, but you didn't have to bite him, Mike." And I remember Tyson looking at him like, "Man,
Jim
I'll bite
Gray.
your fucking head off right now."
But look, Jim Gray is brave too. I agree with you. He brave. He was on hot boxing one time, and he said just as not only in the way Jim Gray could do it, he got Mike to either capitulate or back off a little bit of Deontay Wilder. I thought that was amazing. And Mike, why you don't like him? And Mike really didn't have an answer. I can't verbatim tell you how that what was said, but I can definitely tell you that Jim Gray was like, he asked a pointed question, like, why you don't like him? What he do to you? Like, what's the problem? Did you ever think to look at it from his way or something like that? And Mike was like, you're right. You're right. So he kind of backed off. But then later, weeks, months down the line, he seemed like he gravitated back. But what he doesn't do, he was very critical of Deontay back then and before him and Jim Gray.
Tyson?
Yeah, Tyson was very critical of Deontay Wilder. Um,
Yeah.
like he didn't like the man. And I
Well,
looked and looked and looked for something that led him up to that. But Deontay didn't say or do anything that I'm aware of to offend Mike Tyson. But he just didn't like him. And Jim
no,
Gray
that's just a
asked him.
competitive jealousy. You see that a lot in sports, especially in boxing, where the veteran guys they don't want to give two props. Tyson was known as a historic puncher, and then here comes Wilder, and he's got this super high KO ratio, and probably that just like Chavez doesn't like Canelo. Or Marquez, Rafael what's his name, Marquez.
Juan, is it?
Yeah,
What's his
Juan. He
name?
doesn't like Canelo. It's a competitive jealousy a lot of times that leads these guys to say things like that sometimes. Plus, Mike. he done his share of drugs in his day by his own admission, and he's got his own pot farm now, and he stays smoking bud. So who knows what might come out of his mouth?
I
You
know,
know,
right? And guess what, you guys? If you want to see the trailer, I know Jay Yo said he ain't interested. He heard enough. I feel you, King. But if you want to see the trailer, I'm thinking you can YouTube it, or at least if you have Hulu, go check out because the trailer's on there. Um, it could be in one of these stories that you can like boxing scene or boxing, uh, but they will actually show the trailer. But check out the trailer, and in the trailer, what made it interesting because it seemed like they're gonna explain in details, for real, what made Mike when he asked the question, "Who am I?" Because that's one of the top questions that he's asking. Mike Tyson himself is narrating. I don't know if it's just in the beginning or throughout the movie or the miniseries, but he's narrating, and you see, reports, going back and forth with his mother and him, and how poignant she talks to him. And I mean, when you look at it, it might give insight or clues as to what makes him the type person that he is. Maybe he can't see it because when you live in your own life, shit be happening. You can't really see it, in real time or even in the past. When you reflect, it's like all the puzzles not there, but people on the outside looking in can see it much clearer than you could ever wish to be. So I think that that's what this miniseries is going to provide. If the series proved to be as honest as possible, it remains to be seen though if people that they're that's portraying pertinent people in his life, like Robin Givens, the girl who's playing her. I'm sure they had to get some kind of permission from Robin. It don't mean that they wouldn't have still went ahead with their miniseries because it's considered a biopic. So I'm sure Robin chime in and be like, that shit just ain't true. We have to wait and see that. But I think it deserves a cursive look. You know what I'm saying? Just look at the trailer and see, especially you, Jo. Look at the trailer and see if that's something you might be interested in. But I feel you on everything that you said. Jerry, we were very
what channel?
respectful.
What channel is it coming on?
It's gonna be on Hulu.
Hulu.
You
Okay.
got that prescription? I keep saying
Yeah,
prescription.
that's an app.
Subscription.
Yeah, I think so. When is it
Yeah.
coming on?
I didn't see a date, but soon.
Okay.
It's coming out real soon because they
I ain't
got the
even heard
trailer
about
out
it.
and it's gonna be a mini series. If you sign into your Hulu, they'll show you Hulu originals. I would think that that's going to be considered an Hulu original, and they will
Alright.
have it front and center. Or you just look. It's a TV show, so it's a mini series. It's not considered a movie. So you go
Okay.
to shows and look for new
I'll
material.
check it out on Hulu. I'll just pull that up, and I'm sure I'll be able to find out about it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch it. The one thing I'm gonna say, you know, I'm gonna send a prayer out to Mike Tyson because, like I said, I guess he in his morbid zone. He's feeling like his life coming to an end. He feel like he's looking at telltale signs where he's seeing spots and stuff develop on his face, or just aging. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes think you ready for age, but as you going through it, you like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm this age. You be tripping because in your mind, it was just yesterday you was 21 and
Sure.
22. That's how fast that shit go. To all the young folks listening out there, it was just yesterday. That's how it was seen. Time will move so fast, even though at the in the moment it seemed like it's slow, but it really ain't. It's moving fast. So he feels like that. All we can do is send a prayer out to Mike, collectively, be like, Mike, it is a phase. Somebody need to write a book about what people go through in that respect. They write a book about everything else. You know what I'm saying, Jared? Write a
Yeah,
book about how you feel, how people typically feel in their 40s and their 50s. That need to be
yeah,
put out there because them some tumultuous years right there.
sure. But every decade tells a different story. So, in your 20s and stuff, all the youth and optimism, and in the 30s, you still got probably plenty of good health. It feels like, and optimism, but you kind of starting to really feel what life's about and the work and the grind. And then, of course, in your 40s, you kind of get hit, like especially mid 40s is kind of like hitting a brick wall
I
and
I
a
was going to say
realization. Yeah,
absolutely right.
and a realization that the youth and stuff is not coming back. The youthful exuberance and stuff uh, is not coming back. And then, and I know for men, most men have a nervous breakdown by the time they get into their 50s or
We be
early
feeling
60s.
that way, Jared. We be like, is it the menopause? We be like, what is it? We be
Yeah, I
like,
know.
what is
As
it?
as a man, when you turn 50, well, you stop producing testosterone, not entirely, but it drastically reduces, and that's the thing that makes us viral and vigorous, and automatically. And I remember my uncle and my uncles telling me, just wait until you get about 50, and they used to tell me that, and I think, nah, that ain't gonna be no big deal because at the time I'm 30, 35, I'm young. But oddly enough, and just like they said, and almost to the day, when I got about 49, 50 years old, I started noticing just what they were talking about. And then it becomes a mental thing because as a man, and of course as a woman too, but as a man, you know that youthfulness and that strength and all that vigor
Shit
that you
gone.
had, it's not coming back.
That shit gone. For
Yeah, it's
good.
gone.
For the good. And
Now,
then you gotta learn how to be somebody else. Cause
and
you
you
got
got to almost learn how to be somebody else.
yes,
Exactly.
yes,
And
yes.
that's a humbling thing for a man, and not just from a self defense perspective necessarily, but in a money making, hard working, everything in the bedroom, anything, everything. You're not that man that you used to be, and you're not going back there. And that's a hardcore realization because it affects every part of your life.
Sure. I'm sitting over here laughing because I'm thinking about what the OGs was trying to tell us as women when we young. We're like, girl, you get to complain about something. Be like, girl, shut up. That ain't shit. Wait till your knees start hurt. And I know you don't know what I mean.
Knees,
Jared,
yeah.
can you imagine what I'm talking about? Ask your wife. When was it that she realized her knees started?
Well, I had heart surgery in March, triple bypass. I went to the doctors for a routine physical with an EKG, just like I do every year. And the doctor did the EKG, and he said, I don't like how this EKG looks. Now he had done EKGs before, never a problem. Every year, I get the physical, I get the EKG. He said, I don't like how this looks. I want you to get a stress test. So like 6 or 7 days later, I went and got a stress test, and 2 days later, I was on the table getting open heart surgery.
It's very fortunate. Hiccups.
Uh, Triple bypass.
So the moral to the story, Jerry, is for y'all men to go to the doctor more often and get these checkups.
I'll go to the doctor though.
Yeah,
I
you
get a
do. I'm
physical.
saying to most men don't. They say
I
most
get a
men don't.
physical every year, and I've been had high blood pressure and sugar. Stop it. And I've taken medicine for the high blood pressure for years now, and metformin for the sugar. But other than that, I'm in good health. I never had no chest pain, nothing like that. Um, but the good news is I never had a heart attack. I had three blocked arteries. One was all the way blocked. One was 90% blocked, and one was 60% blocked. I said, how the fuck am I walking around working every day, you know, landscaping and
It's
shit with
blocked.
these blocked arteries? And he said, well, you know, God and your heart. can use other arteries and shit. Because the good news was I never had a heart attack, so I didn't damage my heart. You see, so they went in there, they took a vein out of my leg, and they made three new arteries and bypassed the old ones. It's amazing shit, really.
It is. I had look, Jared. The crazy thing is when we be talking about to all y'all listening, humbly asking, please hit the subscribe button, please,
I like
and
to
the like
subscribe.
button. But Jared's speaking real truth. Because on the female side, just so I can be clear, some of the folks listening, I know y'all be like, y'all guys be like, oh, let me close my ears. When women get a cycle, it's telltale signs that it's coming, right? Every month. And we always act like godly shocked, like, oh my God, is this happening? Like we know it's coming, but we be like acting like, oh my God, like we be having a fit, so to speak, in our own way. Y'all don't get to see it. But then you get to complain. And women do not feel sorry for women. That's number one. That's the funniest shit ever. Women don't have no empathy, no feeling sorry for women because they be like, girl, shit, I'd have been through the same thing. How I'm gonna feel sorry for you. But men, we can get you every time. Like all I gotta do is tell my dad, oh, my stomach hurt. That dude gonna roll out the red carpet. But anyway, I was complaining, and my mama said, just wait till your knees start hurting. You know, and I was like, what your knees got to do with your female stuff, your cycle?
Right.
I be damn, Jerry, somewhere in my 30s, that shit started happening. I fell out laughing. I was in pain, but I could not help but laugh because I'm really trying to figure out how the two go together.
Yeah.
But the shit is true. And so, like, when you talk about the heart attack, I took my kids to the amusement park. And it's one of those amusement parks in North Carolina. Supposedly, they boast of having the biggest drop in America as far as roller coasters. When we pull up and park in the parking lot, I see this roller coaster damn near coming out the park at the front. We go, the kids walk me straight to the back. They all tough and everything, right? We get there, only one of the kids wanted to get on, my nephew. So me and my homegirl who was with me, we got on with them. Now, mind you, I didn't know that they were giving me the wrong medicine. And so when they do that, you can hurt somebody doing shit like that. I don't think doctors mean to, but sometimes shit happens. So they was giving me some kind of diuretic that they didn't need to give me, which what it did was it was depleting my electrolytes like nobody business. So when I got on this roller coaster, which I would never ride a roller coaster again in my life,
Right.
I had a heart attack, a
Oh
minor
shit.
heart attack. And I'm young. I'm like, what? I don't have no blocked arteries, no plaque buildup. I got cholesterol like if I'm in my 20s, because it's the way I eat. I don't got none of that shit. And I did have a damaged heart because I had my thyroid removed when I was 24. And so when you remove an organ, other organs can get damaged. I had a little damage, and once you damage your heart, you can't repair that shit. But I still could have lived, a long, normal life. I'm telling you, I didn't realize that I depleted because there's no telltale sign to know when your electrolytes are depleted. Drinking water, you drinking everything, think you good. I had a heart attack. I didn't know what the fuck it was. I was sweating. It was very, very, very minor. Very
Right.
minor. It took me 2 years to get over that. When I tell you on the lowest of lows scale when it comes to heart attacks, that's what happened to me. And I'm mad as hell that that's on the record, it's on the books with me. And I be like, damn, if they wouldn't have gave me that medicine, so they completely took me off of it, got me right, and I ain't had no problem since. But it took me 2 years to get over that shit. 2
Damn.
fucking years. And that was a little tiny minor one. And you'll know you have one because your mouth start tasting like metal. It
Yeah, I
really
heard
do.
that
It,
before.
it do. It tastes like metal. I didn't know what
Yeah, I
none of
heard
this
that.
shit was. Why would I think in my 40s that this is about to happen to me when I've had my blood work come back saying everything's good. So, hint to the wise. Get your checkups,
Yeah,
people.
fuck them roller roller coasters. I only been on one myself. That fucker whipped me around. I got off of that thing. I had a headache like crazy, man. I said, nah, you know what? And the one I rode, what it was down here at Ocean City, Maryland. It wasn't even a big one.
This
And I
one
said, nah,
had damn near a 90-degree drop. It was close.
fuck
That bitch was tall. Like it dropped forever. I screamed so loud. I don't even think I was making a sound. The picture, I can't show the picture to nobody because they show a picture. I was like, who is that?
right.
Yeah, but anywho, y'all do check out the what you call them, and hey, stay tuned for my sponsors. This commercial. Jared, did you see that? I know you on the
Yeah.
phone. Oh,
I
that's
like
my
that. I
sponsor.
like that little intro you did to the show because I rarely ever catch the show when it's first coming on, so I haven't seen that intro. I've seen it today.
Oh wow. Oh,
Yeah,
okay. You like it?
yeah, it was nice.
I got 3 of them, but
Any
uh,
any news on Spence and Crawford today?
well, I mean, I always told you guys that if if I'm gonna listen to anybody, I'm listening to Team Spence, and you know who you got to be. Like you got to be Spence himself, maybe his father, maybe Derek James, because those are the people in his team that I know would know. I'm not listening to whoever think that they his friends or whatever. I'm not listening to any of that. Same thing
Right.
with Crawford. We know that Bernie the Boxer is a good childhood friend of Crawford's, and so Bomac, Crawford, and Bernie the Boxer, and Bernie the Boxer have recently come out saying, as per Crawford, sometime in November. They don't give a date. They got some final details to work out, but as per Crawford, like my boy Caps and Full G says, I want it to be announced at least 2 months ahead of time because I've made my conclusion that Earl Spence did not take a VADA test, even though he holds the title of the WBC. He didn't take that test because he wasn't on the list. And if he got a problem with that, he has to take that up with the WBC because they're the ones who said we're going to put out a list often, and you wasn't on the list, but your opponent was, and that was your Danish Ugas. So how did your Danish get on the list and you didn't get on the list? And I know people gonna say, well, there's a letter. But again, I told you guys, you gotta look at the date of that letter. You gotta also understand that the WBC do not year long test them, and you have to sign up for it every time you have a fight. So as he's approaching this Crawford fight, he needs to re-enter the program because there's a start date and an end date. After that, after so many days after the fight, the VADA cannot come and test him. So there's an end date. So there has to be a start date. And if you put everything together, WBC saying that they don't do year round testing, then that just tells you right there. He didn't like I said, you cannot find something saying within this year that he entered into the VADA testing. If you go on VADA's page or anybody's page and look up when did Earl enter the clean boxing program, it was this time or earlier last year, like
What do you
sometime in
think that's
June.
something that's holding up the fight? That Earl Spence doesn't want to test it? Are you suggesting that?
I'm not sure. I don't know if Crawford looks at Earl Spence like, I don't care what you do, it don't matter. Because he kind of says something, no matter what you do, like I'm on to you. I don't know if Crawford looks at him like that. Like it wouldn't matter what you do, you know. Uh, I got you, bro. I'm gonna get you. You know, if Crawford feel that way, it's a lot of people that enter the fights knowing. I think some of these boxers know who be cheating. All they know is Jerry.
That's my dog on this tennis ball.
Oh, okay. Yeah, now I know what it is. I thought he was crying. Um, so I don't know if these fighters know um that some boxers that they may face be on that shit or whatever, they just don't say nothing because they ain't got a problem with squilling on each other. Um, and some people say that's not a problem, T. But I'm like, shit, if when your life is on the line, it is a problem because
Yeah, I
that's what it
doubt
is.
Crawford would feel that way. I mean, I get what you're saying there. Get on, boy. I get what you're saying there. But I think maybe a lot of times you're talking about a fighter that might go up against another guy that they feel is doing something that he shouldn't be. But that's a low dollar fighter. Maybe that's his first half decent payday and he's desperate for money. That's not the case with Bud Crawford. Bud Crawford's got money. Plus, game recognizes game. Bud is a confident fighter like most fighters, but he sees what Earl Spence is and to allow Earl Spence to have a perceived even bigger advantage by putting something into his veins that's going to give him even more of a competitive advantage. I can't imagine Crawford would be that gullible to say, I don't care, I'll beat him anyway. Nah, I think if he thought that, now I've heard that before with Spence, but I'm this way with the juice thing. We've talked about it before. I think almost all of these guys are on something, and this is why partly too. Sometimes you'll see these guys act like they don't care. Well, why would you not care? Well, maybe they on something too. And if you look who's been busted for stuff, just the guys that's been caught, it's a whole lot of top guys. I mean, if I compiled a list, it would look like the who's who of boxing for the last 30 years since they've been part of the sport. And so, I'm reluctant to believe that. I don't think, I don't know what Earl or Spence or Bud Crawford does, but I've heard that rumor in regards to Earl Spence before, and I often wonder why do people think, just automatically that he made is it because he's
See,
a dominant
I don't
fighter?
even put that jacket on though, Jerry. What I'm
Well,
saying is absolute fact. He do not have nothing this year showing, hey, I entered into a boxing program before his Lucas fight. And that's what you gotta do for WBC, especially if you holding the belt. And there was no
but I
test,
heard him say
there's no
in
test
regards to
afterwards.
I heard him say in an interview I seen on YouTube in regards to that he did get tested for the Ugas fight.
But why wasn't he on the list? You got
Oh,
this,
I
that's
don't
why I'm
know.
saying, like, that is a pointed question that there's no ambiguity in it. WBC said everybody who complies with their program, i.e., Roger up for the testing, will go on a list with their results next to it. The only way that you're not going on, this is WBC, this is not T. The only way that you're not going on that list is if you test positive, because at that point it really is HIPAA. It's HIPAA either way. So then what they're going to do is they're going to call you, your team, and your promoter. Do they call the opponent's team and promoter? I don't know, but definitely you, your team, like your managers or your trainers, all of them will be in the know if you tested positive. If you test negative, your name will go on this list, and beside your name, it'll say negative, and it'll have a date. And that's all people needed to know. And WBC is going to put out that list. Now, for Earl, no name. His name was not on the list. Uga's name was, but not Earl. So the two can't be right. Can't in one breath say, I did take the test, but your name wasn't on the list, but your opponent's name was. Somebody can, if they can effectively explain that, then I'm all ears. But to me, you can't. I'm not telling you T's world or what I think how things should be. I'm not even calling him a cheater. I never said that he's on that shit. Look at his nipples, because I heard those rumors too. He has a clean back. He don't got acne. I never looked at him like that. I'm looking at, I was happy that the WBC had this program set up the way they do. Let me introduce some people. D-Ray
Sure.
Promotions is in the building. What's popping, King? And Ray New Sartors is in the building. What's popping, King? He said, hey, beautiful Miss T. Hello, sir. Um, I'm not, this is not T. I couldn't have put this together if I wanted to. I'm telling you guys what WBC said. I showed you in a video their rules. and Earl Spence was
Okay,
not on
but
the
given
list.
that what you're saying there, that suggests that since his name, you said that if you're involved in the program and you test negative, your name will go on the list with your test result beside. Which that would mean, if since his name wasn't there, that he tested positive. Is that what you're suggesting?
I'm gonna tell everybody to draw their own conclusions. I'm telling you what's not
But I'm just saying
apparent.
by way of not being on the list.
I mean, that's what
Because
it suggests. If I'm being
well, yeah.
honest, that's what it suggests. I won't go
So
so far as to
but
say
if
that.
he tested positive, you don't think they would make that public?
Listen,
I mean, because they did with
you're getting
Canelo
ahead of yourself. The furthest
and
I can
Big
go,
Baby.
Jerry. Hold on, Jerry. The furthest I can go is to say his name did not make the list. Now, why it didn't make the list is a very good question. Now, if WBC is plain and put it out in plain English, how that works, and your name is not on the list, then I will let everybody draw their own conclusions. You never heard Miss T say, "Oh, Earl is juicing. He's whatever." What I will say is, Terrence, if you gotta pay for the test yourself, I don't think it's that a bad idea or something for you to be like, all right, Earl, if you put it with your complaints, why you won't do it? Whatever you need, I'll pull it out of my pockets. Make sure you got what you need just so you can comply with the test. I'm just saying, when you don't comply with the test, it could be that Earl never got tested. It could be something simple that. That doesn't make him guilty of juicing or anything. But if he didn't comply with the test, you know what would have happened to him? The same thing that happened to Mario Barrios, who wouldn't take the test. He got kicked out the rankings and he got dropped from the whole WBC rankings, and he got kicked out the
That's kind of
program.
what I'm getting at. If Spence ignored protocol and refused the testing, or if he tested and tested positive, I mean, we would have heard about it. I don't see what's so different about Spence than
But
Canelo
you said we would have
or
heard
Big
about
Baby
it
Miller
when you
or Big
always
Baby
say
Miller.
too that there's corruption in boxing.
Well, there is, but I mean, like I say, when these guys get busted, we hear about it.
Me too.
It's just heard about.
So are you
Now,
saying? So let me ask you: are you saying that no way, shape, or form could there ever be a case where somebody greased some palms and just didn't make hay of it?
no, I couldn't say. I certainly couldn't say that. Like you said, and like we know,
Everybody else saying.
boxing's corrupt. But again, I got to look at things logically too. Canelo Alvarez is a cash cow in boxing. If they revealed a positive test for a cash cow, I don't see why the WBC would be reluctant to reveal a positive test about a guy who's, well, I mean, Spence is a great fighter and a
But then
popular,
you saying
fairly
that
popular.
didn't happen. Is that
What's
what you're
that?
saying? I know that's your calculus, Jerry, but then you have to be saying that never happened. And I'm telling you
No, I mean
clearly
I
it
couldn't
happened.
say, and that's too big of a statement to
Mm-hmm.
say it never happens. I just know that when these fighters test positive, we live in a media stage where shit is just known. I mean, still on boy, Big Baby Miller when he tested both times, Fernando Vargas, Shane Mosley. I mean, hey, you better get on.
Leave that
Just
baby alone.
you better get on, boy.
He probably tried to tell you something, Jared.
Yeah, this motherfucker's a miniature Mike Tyson. He gets violent.
He
Yeah,
said, you
he gets
ain't paying no
violent.
attention to me.
Exactly. Um, I don't know, man. I mean, of course, but anything's possible. Anything's possible, but I feel like if he tested 30, we'd know about it. Or if he refused testing, we'd know about it. I looked into it a little bit with him on Earl Spence, and I've seen him talking about it in a YouTube video. He said he's involved in the testing program every time. That's what he
And
said,
guess
and I
what?
mean,
Guess what, Jared?
he did not look like he was lying about it.
Jared, I agree with you. I don't I don't just suspect Earl. I'm only telling you guys, yes, I'm for Crawford. But that's a problem for me. You put out these rules and regulations. You've admonished people who didn't comply with your rules and regulations. You say you put out the list of people who comply with the rules and regulations, but you didn't put Earl's name on it. So at this point, My suggestion to Earl would be to get at Mauricio's neck, period. Because if we are to listen, either we are to listen to the WBC and go by what they say, because the WBC acts like they're kind of beyond reproach on how they do their VADA testing. That's the WBC saying it, not T. And then you have these people who hold the titles for the WBC or in line to fight for a title or in their ranking. And all those people that fall in those categories that I just named, they have to comply with the WBC clean boxing program. That is the requirement to being in the ranking for WBC, fighting for a
Right, but so you're
WBC
saying they
title,
made
or
an exception for Earl.
I'm not saying anything. I'm just all I can tell you, because when it comes to
If
Earl
his name's not
Spence,
on the list.
I can't. Yeah, I don't want to wade in waters that I don't know. What I
Yeah.
do know is he did not make the list, and I've looked. If y'all been watching my show over and over again, y'all know I looked and I looked and I looked and I looked,
I'm pretty sure
and
they'll be
I hope
testing
I'm wrong.
for this fight if they ever make the fight. I'm pretty sure that they both going to agree to testing. But here's the other thing: if that fight is to take place in November, which is what the rumor is, that's what I've been hearing.
Right?
Also, but it's all rumor. If it's to take place in November, then that means they almost have to announce it with by the end of July. Within the next couple of weeks, they're going to have to announce it because that any big fight needs 4 to 6 months of promotion, and they allow people to book the rooms in Vegas, and
But
you know,
Jared, I gotta beg to differ. The fight wasn't complete with Mayweather till like a week or something, or the week of or something. It was right up to the wire. Those
which
things can
fight?
happen too. Him and
Which fight?
Pacquiao, because I went to that fight. I bought
Yeah, but
tickets.
that they knew that fight would have had a couple months of promotion that it didn't even need. That fight didn't even need any promotion, but it
Right?
still had a couple months because just from a logistical standpoint, they have to have at least 3 months in order for people to book rooms and travel to
If
Vegas and make those plans. I mean,
if you
this is
listen,
widely known when
but
it
if
comes
you
to
listen to Captain Full G, who broke down how Nevada and what can happen and how people cycle off drugs and this, that, and the other. Um, and if you look at the rules, the person, the big fish, is going to get to announce. And Floyd said, "Don't believe that the fight is going to happen till I tell you, or Fight Hype tells you, because that's who I'm telling." Either Floyd, Fight Hype, or Earl Spence have the honor of announcing that fight. Once that fight is officially announced, you are on the hook for VADA Clean Boxing Program, as per
But see,
their rules.
that's another reason why they have to do it to stay in accordance with what is it? I think it's 8 weeks of testing.
Not really, because again, there's a guy named Captain Full G. Eric, subscribe
I'm
to
just telling
him.
you, they don't wait to the last minute
Hold on,
to
Jerry.
announce a big fight like
Hold on,
that.
Jerry. Go look at his show and look at his facts that he showed, and then you'll probably get a better understanding, because they absolutely can wait or bleed into that 8 weeks before they announce. They do it. They do it often. It can. They don't typically do it. They don't. It's not customary for them to do it. But don't. We can't say it can't happen. Let me get this chat. D Ray Promotions said DJ Statue of Liberty. I think that's what that picture is. Failed the test, according to them. Clown ass, respectfully. DJ, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he did or don't didn't. Um, E-Ray, you got a mic. I'm hoping you saying you can hear me, or you can't. If you can't, I'm speaking more into the mic. Um, I don't listen, guys. I will never put the cart before the horse. Okay, I have a whole video, and just so I'll tell you what video it is. If you pull up my name and look at YouTube, it's the video that shows the picture of the website that the WBC used to show their list of compliant fighters in their VADA program and their results. WBC, y'all got to listen to what I'm saying. WBC themselves say we put out this list often, kind of like every month. We put out this list often. We're gonna tell you an approximate number of how many people went into the testing. We're gonna tell you what their results were. He also
Approximately.
have said, Mauricio, that a lot of times they prefer or they do it for economical reasons, not for no personal reason. But that's just, chop it up to Mauricio being cheap. He'd rather do the test post fight. The problem with that, as Captain Full G spells out, that by that time, whatever you took, you would have cycled off. And your testosterone ratio would be that of a normal man. You want to catch them either before training or during their 2-month training. That's when you want to catch them. But as every week or 2 weeks go by, the cycling off process is going down. So if you don't get to that fighter in time, because if they're gonna do banned substance, there's that process of cycling off. This is how most of them are doing it. But it depends on when they get tested and this, that, and the other. I won't go that far to say Earl Spence did or didn't. What I can tell you for a fact from what I've seen, and I hope WBC makes a liar out of me and be like, they can retro act a website saying we did put this list out. I'm telling you guys, I have watched and watched and watched. I've been complaining about it before Uga's fight because it's one thing. It'll be one thing if Uga's name wasn't on the list neither. But you had people like Tyson Fury's name on the list. Their fight came after Ugas and Earl. You had Oscar Valdez on the list. His fight was after oh boys like Earl and Ugas. You even had his opponent, Ugas, who does not hold a WBC, but he fell into that category of fighting for the title. So he
Well,
was on it, but not Earl.
going by what you're saying, the WBC said. If we're going by what you're saying, they said, then either they're saying he either failed a drug test or he didn't test at all. It's one of the two things.
They saying that by default, but I will let you and everybody else, Jared, because it's a touchy
But that's
subject.
what it's saying. If
I
they're putting
mean,
the people who are
I can't argue with that.
involved on the list and he's not on there, that either suggests that he failed it or he didn't take it at all.
I can't argue with that. I can't speak intelligently on what they're trying to convey to the public or what they're actually saying. I can't tell you why they're doing it. All I can tell you is they put his opponent name on there, but not his. That's all I can tell you.
I know, but what you said was that they said that whoever's involved in the testing is going to go on a list, and next to
Yeah.
the list will go their test status.
Well, and to be clear, y'all, they didn't with the way you just said it, Jerry, and I know what you mean, but we have to sometimes be clear to our listeners. It's not like they came out and
Yeah,
said, this is what we're gonna do just on the Ugas and Earl fight. These were things that WBC put out back as far as 2018. They've been doing this for years now. I was shocked that I just learned about it this year. So I did a show saying, basically like, look what I just learned. And the reason why it was a shocker to me, and mind you, all during COVID, I was watching everybody's shows. You would think at one point in that whole first year that somebody would have said something about that. I honestly did not know shit about this list and how they get down until this year. So I said, okay, I was happy about the fact that they put a list out. I said that way we don't have to speculate about nobody because sometimes you hear about, oh, look at their titties, look at their nipples, look at their back, it's all acne up, look at their face. We talk about all these telltale signs. Well, instead of speculating, how about just know for a fact? So when I found out that WBC puts out a list and they will remove you if you don't comply, and yes, they did get at Canelo. Vada did. Yes, who else got it? They got an Oscar. So of course I'm thinking that WBC program ain't all hunky dory like they claim because it's not year round. That's for starters. But look, if they get after the real big fish, which is Canelo, why wouldn't they get after anybody else? Why wouldn't they let that be publicly known, like you said? So I'm looking at the legitimacy of it all. So I put out as food for thought to my listeners. Hey, you know what? Never fear. There's possibility that they're gonna do it this way or that way. And if they do it this way, then this what that means. If they do it that way, then that's what that means. Because I'm not a fan of them doing post-fight testing and never doing pre-fight testing. I'm not a fan of that. But it's up to the WBC. It's not my rule. It's not my organization. It's with their rules and guidelines. So when I'm saying they say, it's in their rules and guidelines. And like I say, if you go to the VADA page right now, it will show congratulations, Earl Spence entering the VADA Clean Boxing Program. And they will have a date, and that date will say 2021, last summer. Now, and I also showed in my rules, Jerry, by their let me correct myself. WBC's rules, we don't do year-round testing. We do it per fight. If you're the top 15 in our ranking, you're gonna have to roger up for this. If you're going for a title, one of our titles, you're gonna have to roger up for this. If you have our belt, you're gonna have to roger up to this. So that now you got to look at the fighter and say who falls in those categories. Okay, this person, that person, that person. All right, fine. Now you got to roger up for this, and when you roger up, we're gonna get the list of people which will have your name on it, and it should have a negative. You don't gotta look for it; it's coming. They put it out often. Well, Earl's name on it, not on it. I can't tell you why it's not. I can tell you if it's a mistake and
Well, that's
Earl's
pretty much
saying,
black and white. He either didn't involve it or he tested positive. I mean, I don't know what else you could ascertain when if the WBC is saying emphatically what you just said, that they got a list and the fighters are involved, they're on the list and their status is there, and his name is not there. I mean, there's only two things you can ascertain. He either tested positive, and for some reason they didn't disclose that, which to me is far fetched, or he maybe didn't take it. Maybe they didn't. Maybe it wasn't mandated for the fight. I don't know.
no, you can't
I
say
don't.
no maybe. I showed it in black and white. And I say maybe. I would like to say that with you, Jerry, but I showed you their rules. Ain't say maybe.
No, that's what I'm talking about. Their rules. I mean, that's exactly what I'm speaking to. I know you're just conveying what they said, and that's what I'm speaking to. Um, you know, just to move on from it though, I don't know. Like I say, I think a lot of these guys take stuff, almost all of them. But that's speculation on my part. All I can do is speculate. Sometimes there's guys that I would have thought no, that there's no way, but yes, they were. And then there's other guys where, like I told you, I think Manny Pacquiao likely, very likely. I mean, but he never tested dirty, and of course, like you
Never
said,
got caught. Right.
boxing's corrupt, and you just don't know, man. If he was dirty and he was paying people off, or if he just had good chemists that knew how to cycle him off, and he just never got caught, or maybe there's a chance that he never did. Um, what do I know? I don't get that impression about Spence, and I'm pretty sure if they ever make the fight, they'll be testing, they'll be
But
drug
that's what
testing.
they said about Ugas, Jerry. All I'm saying is things are what they are. Like if I'm a college grad and I be saying I'm a college grad, and then y'all find out I was almost a college grad, like I'm short a half a credit, then I'm not a college grad. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
but
saying?
like you
Point
said,
blank,
Earl
period.
Spence is on the VADA list for that fight,
He's
showing
not
that he
on
won.
the list. You hear
Oh
what his
no,
words say. I'm telling you what they did. They didn't put him on the list.
No, I'm not talking about the WBC. I'm talking about VADA.
Vada got him on for last year. It is a known fact. Earl Spence have not signed up for year-long Vada because that's what you can do too. You can, as a fighter, and the one fighter comes to mind, no Nito Donaire. Everybody's familiar with him. He
Yeah.
can, as well as everybody can, sign up for Vada all year round. That's coming out
Yeah.
your pocket. Earl Spence has never done that. He is not on record for doing that.
Well, I
He
think a
is
lot of fighters don't do that.
okay, and I'm not, but listen, I'm not caking and I'm not putting nothing on somebody. He don't have to do that. That's a volunteer thing. But while he got hold that WBC belt, this is something he don't have a choice in.
Yeah,
He
he's
has to
got it
be a
then.
part of clean boxing program. And you got, they have their way of letting you know who complied with that program. He didn't make that their way. It's not T way. I didn't say, oh, I'm gonna put out the list and have the date that they took it and we're gonna make sure I don't got nothing to do with that. That's them, clean boxing program. What I would suggest to Earl is to be on this shit like white on rice. Get you if you gotta get somebody you can afford it, get somebody to iron out these kinks and be like, why wasn't I on the list? Y'all better fix that. Do it. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it come back and they retro, even on the sneak tip and all that. But I can promise you this one thing, and you guys can do it yourself. Go look and try to find it. I have diligently for weeks now looked and looked and looked. And when I complained about it before Uga's fight, you know what everybody say? Well, give it time and see. He might be on the next batch that come out in April. And his cutoff date was I want to say the end of April or something like that. I don't know. But he might be on the next batch that'll come out in May, for April's list or whatever. I was like, okay. I waited. I looked and looked and looked. I looked all the time, every week. Every week I've been looking. I haven't seen it. And trust me, how do I find one list and I can't find the other? And you guys, I showed you what that website looked like. You guys can look it up yourself. I've been as transparent as I can. I'm not making shit up on him. Now, the conclusion from what the facts are going forward is up to y'all. I'm not even gonna say out my mouth that yeah, he did this or he's on that. I'm not gonna say it. I'm just telling you up to the point of his uh, complying with the WBC clean boxing program and how that works. I don't see where he complied. That's all I can say. Going forward, I let y'all draw your own conclusion. That's all I can say. But this is a hot ticket item. I don't want to start no controversy, but I was looking for this when it was the Ugas fight, when Terrence fight won't even in the cards, when they won't even negotiate. And I just found it amazing that Tyson Fury was on that bitch 3 times in the same month. Like I said, Dillian White of all people, another cheater, was on that bitch. You know, um, everybody else was on it. Oscar, who got caught. Oscar Valdez was on there. Shakur Stevens was on there. And these were pending fights coming up. They made the list. The list came out before their fight. Whoop de whoop. Ugas was on there before April 16th, because that's when they fought. Ever, 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 and this is July, almost going into August, have I seen Earl's name on the list for the Ugas fight before, during, and after. Haven't seen it. So how people deal with that is how they deal with it. But I'm gonna move on. And we're gonna have before I move on, we're gonna have a word from our sponsor.
Sounds like something off of some 70s game show.
Tony, I met it to be like that. I'll talk more about it when those requirements are met. Um, the WBA has ordered Bivol and Ramirez, talking about Zerto Ramirez, to get it in. They gave them until August 10th this year to work it out or go to a purse bid. Zerto has had already two title eliminator fights, but he won. Eddie Hearn, as of late, rather for Bivol to face Lassie. Um, I didn't know that Eddie Hearn manages Bivol. And Blassie is ranked, just in case y'all wondering, ranked number 2 over Zerto, and or
I don't
he's
think
rated.
Eddie Hearn promotes Bivol. I think Zudo fights on Dyson for
No,
Oscar De La
Zerto,
Hoya.
yeah, Zerto fights for Canelo. I think he's not Canelo, um, Oscar. He fights
Yeah,
under
on
Golden
Dyson.
Boy. But
That's why
Eddie,
Eddie.
but I don't know why Eddie would speak on this because they said Eddie prefers Bivol, not Zerto. He prefers Bivol to fight Uasi over Zerto. Zerto been asking and asking and asking for this fight. He Eddie's going to ask for an exception for Bugasi instead of this order now that just came down by the WBA. He's going to ask for an exception to Bivol to take place in October this year. So he want Bivol to fight Bugasi instead of Zerto. Zerto been waiting in the back wings, waiting patiently.
He sure as
Said
fuck
nothing.
been in the back wings. He's one insignificant dude in boxing.
He
And a
is, but he been
good
waiting.
looking Mexican guy like him, he should be a star somehow. But I don't
People
even know what he
avoid
fights
him.
or who he's fought. Who has he fought?
I understand, Jared, but from his point of view, I'm not caking for either one because ain't neither one of them my favorite fighters. I'm saying Zerto feels like he's been avoided. Like he was avoided at 68. That's why he moved up to 75. He's been calling these people out. There was a time, Jared, when I was doing shows, I couldn't go past a news. No, I get my news in some places like Boxing Scene, Boxing News, all over. I get my and everywhere you go, there's an article written about how Zerto is basically writing a letter to everybody but Santa Claus, begging for an opportunity to get it in with the title holders. That's what he wanted. And he's undefeated. He got about 44 fights or something to that effect. And so Team Zerto are keeping their faith that the process will work out to their favor um, in a fair kind of way, in a fair manner. Zerto feels like Bivol has no place to run or hide. This is Zerto saying this. So my question to you, Jerry, and the panel, is that a clever duck by Bivol?
If I was Bivol, I wouldn't fight nobody even halfway dangerous until after this Golovkin fight because there's a big payday in the offing for the Canelo rematch, and that would be my move. I certainly wouldn't fight a guy like Zerdo who hasn't beaten anybody, doesn't really have any type of following. He's not going to make for a big fight, and he may fuck around and fuck up your chance for that rematch and take the belts, perhaps. Uh, Maybe from a pure boxing fan's perspective, but I just haven't been impressed with this guy Zerdo. And a few times I've seen him, I mean, I've seen him in there against guys he was heavily favored to beat, and he beat them, but I can't make a strong case for the man. I mean, if Canelo Alvarez, if that fight's not in the plans for Canelo, which I believe it is, I believe he definitely wants the rematch. But if not, then yeah, then Bivol should have to fight whoever is there in that in light heavyweight division because there's really not a whole ton of top talent in that division.
That's why
You
I
got
asked Jerry, is it a clever duck? Because a lot of people don't understand if you ranked in the top 3 or top 5, depending on the sanctioning body you're dealing with, they hold a meeting and they can pick from that top 3 or top 5 who gonna be your mandatory. Just because you rank number 1 don't necessarily make you the mandatory. You know what I'm saying, Jerry?
Yeah, I know that, and you gotta petition for that. Even if you are the number one guy, you still have to petition to get the mandatory title shot, and not all fighters do. Ryan Garcia didn't do it. Sean Porter didn't do it for a while with Terrence Crawford until they finally started to put some money on the fight, and he petitioned for it, and he even spoke about that himself. But see, again, the word duck comes up, and to me, I don't. I don't like to use that word too much because I know that the fighters themselves, to take the term duck literally, um, it's the fighters don't do that, but they all of them careers are managed, every one of them. And if that means that or it looks like a duck, I guess you could call it that. But again, if I'm Bivol management, I'm not doing anything to jeopardize that Canelo rematch right now. I might not even fight until I would maybe just wait and just keep him out of the ring until Canelo gets done with Golovkin, and then go ahead and make that fight because this is, you don't know how many times in your career you're ever going to have a chance at making that type of money, and make no
Yeah, I mean
mistake
that's
that.
Jerry, but that's why I call it a clever duck. Believe it or not, Jerry, I know you heard me say duck a lot on here, but if you look at my shows in totality from when I started way back last summer, I'm like you. I don't want to use that word duck liberally. I want to use it sparingly, and but you know why people saying duck? I do understand why that has become a big word these days. Is because you got the way the boxing is when boxing was back there in the 70s, 60s, or whatever, back in yesteryears, nobody had that feeling like they was cheated out a good match. It's almost to the
Oh, no,
point
no, but
now.
ducking went on back then too. I
I,
could
I
give you
know it
a
did,
ton of
Jerry, but you
examples.
didn't feel nobody. I don't know if it's because we got too much information. We have access to too much information. Our phones can make us smarter. Back then you had to actually physically go get it from a book. That means you had to go to the corner, get you a paper, get you a magazine that comes out. The paper is every day, but magazines was coming out every couple of weeks. Or go get you a book. So all this ready-made access to information at the click of a button, like it is today, wasn't like that in yesteryears. So people, that era or that feeling of that era didn't feel like we wasn't getting multiple good fights. Yeah, you will have a duck here and there, but it wasn't enough to carry the day. Nowadays, it's opposite. It's multiple non-competitive or easy fights that people are taking, and it's
Oh, I know it.
obviously that we can see it.
Oh, don't I know it? Don't I know it? And a big part of the reason that is because these fighters get money, good money, uh, for not, without fighting the top guys, and that's a big difference between now and then. Back then, unless you was a huge superstar like Ray Leonard, or let's say, if you wanted to get good money, you had to have a marquee matchup. And it was that way for the longest time in boxing. But nowadays, you take a Ryan Garcia, with whatever he does with that instant media shit. I mean, this kid's got more money than any fighter would have based on what he's accomplished. Hell, you could say the same thing about a lot of these fighters.
He's making
Um,
a lot of money, y'all. Talking about Ryan Garcia with just social media,
yeah,
just
but even
social.
still, let's say Devin Haney. Devin Haney has, when I look at Devin Haney's career, I know he's the undisputed champion, but to me, there's still a lot of dispute about who the best fighter would be in that weight class because he never fought the very top guys of the division to become undisputed. He fought two old ass guys, and he fought Jojo Diaz and Cambosis, and those guys are solid, but they're not the best guys in that division. That's Tank Davis and Lomachenko, and it was Tio Lopez before he moved up. But um, but yet he's got good money. Back in the day, like I say, you wasn't going to be getting good money unless you were really fighting the marquee matchups. And so these fighters today are managed to a point, and Tank Davis is probably the best example. Um, does Tank Davis fear Devin Haney or Lomachenko? No, nobody would convince me of that. Uh, or just from a fighter's perspective, he probably wants to fight them, but the way his career is being managed, he's getting a lot of money just fighting guys that they're handpicking for him, which what Rolly Romero was. They knew who Rolly Romero was. He came up in Mayweather's gym. They knew exactly who he was. And if it turns out that Rolly, if he's got a bad chin, well, you can believe that Mayweather knew it because he came up in that gym. But yet they made a lot of money, and Tank made a lot of money, and so now, if we never see Tank versus Haney or Tank versus Loma or Stevenson, um, it's not hard to understand why when this guy's making millions of dollars fighting guys, you know, that they're doing it. Now I guess the question is who do you blame? A lot of people blame the fighter, and me, I'm far quicker to blame the promoters. I know the fighters. I hate it when fans think that they're cowardly and they're ducking, and there's something cowardly going on, because I just think that's almost never the case. It's just the case that their management, not making the fights, and it sucks for us boxing fans though, because we miss out. We miss out on the big fights.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. But that's the era we find ourselves in.
Yeah, it sucks.
So
Boxing's in a real bad place.
I'm just marking time here with this one because Durdo gonna feel cheated if he don't get his way, and he feels like he's been ignored, right or wrong. This is the
But you
man
see what I'm
feels.
saying though
I do, I
about
do, I do.
about that payday being there,
I mean,
and only having an
but
opportunity to make
but
life changing money.
I also believe,
And
Jerry.
why his management?
But I also believe, Jerry, we got to get to a point where these motherfuckers stop avoiding each other. Because it's boring to me to look at somebody fight somebody they know they can beat. Where's the of it all? So just like I wonder who could be real clever as to come up with a yearly schedule that starts January 1st and make all fighters in all their divisions go through just about everybody according to their ranking, at least by the end of the summer, having cycled through everybody, so that way we can match up everybody and do it on a yearly basis. You have to I don't know what they win in NFL when the Super Bowl happens, like a Super Bowl trophy or basketball at the end of or the beginning part of the summer when they have their what you call them, they have their 7-day games and they be playoffs. That's what it's called. Okay, the
Mm.
playoffs, and then they come down to the finals, and the trophy that they get from that hockey. Every sport you can think of ends with a trophy. That don't mean you will have that bitch forever. And every year you gotta qualify for it. And boxing somewhat is close to that in respect of if you win the title and you're a champion, if you the very next fight you have, you cannot be champion. But I think maybe we got to put people on schedules, you know, every year and make them go through, I guess you call them box offs, where the number one seed has to fight, the number one seed being the champion, has to fight the number one ranked person and cycle through that shit. That way we know we getting the best of the best. And if you lose your belt in some kind of way, they're clever enough to know how to throw you back in the cycle and fix it up and have you start all over again. And I don't know. And then by the end of the summer, after everybody at least cycled through somebody once or twice, then from September forward, fight who you want to fight or don't.
Yeah, I mean that's all part of an organized sport, which boxing is not. Never really has been. Boxing is all about the money, and if the fight don't make dollars, then it don't make sense, and that's going to get in the way every time. And it's really always been that way, but to a lesser degree in the past with fewer complications like exclusive networks and things like that. But that's how it is. I mean, if you're the champion and the number one contender's got two fans, and one of them is his mom and the other one's his sister, and there's a fifth ranked opponent or eighth ranked opponent, but he's mad popular and it's a big money fight, that fight probably going to take precedent every time, and it's not fair. And from a I agree entirely with what you're saying from a sports um, fan's perspective, and there's a key difference between boxing and the sports that you mentioned. And I spoke about this with you before. When in football and baseball, you have to play the best teams at the end of the year. The best teams have to match up, even if one's a major market team and the other one's a low market team. It don't matter. But in boxing, that's what matters most is matching the marquee fighters for the money. Even though Lara's been a victim of that his entire career. To just name one fighter, Lara's always been a champion or at the very top, but you know he's managed to get some big fights just from being around forever. But my point is, there's a lot of fights he didn't get because he was never popular. And in boxing, we got the rankings, but they're bullshit. I mean, you can. There's a trillion cases where you can look in the rankings and see a motherfucker that just got beaten his last fight, and somehow he's still ranked near the top of
But
or
Jerry, question: if you had like a box off kind of tournament like type thing, ain't no way the rankings can be bullshit. But we see who moves forward, who don't. You
yeah, but
see,
it's how the fighters get their ranking. Most of them, it's bought and paid for. It's who they're promoted by,
I
and how
agree.
much
The first ranking might be a little suspect, but then going forward, when you go into the following year, you use the rankings from what was the tally at the end of the summer. And if
Yeah, I mean,
anything
I'm all for it.
changed,
I just
huh?
know that it's so unlikely that it's never happened like that. Even if they just held up their own rankings, even if they just went by the bought and paid for rankings and mandated those fights take place the way that they are supposed to, um, you would see what you might call unheralded fighters get their shot, like a Zerto. When I look at Zerto now, granted I haven't followed his career that closely, but I just I don't remember him fighting any big fights or any big names. I've seen him fight a few times, and I was like, okay, it's all right, I guess, Um, but if he stays undefeated and he's been around long enough, then you like to see that guy get his shot. Um, you know, and if the ranking really dictated and really worked the way they're supposed to, he probably would have already gotten a shot by now. But the fact that he hasn't kind of illustrates my point in that you know, it's about the money. He's not doesn't really represent a big fight, and he might be hard to beat. And I can understand why Bivol, who I don't think is the type of fighter like most of these fighters to duck or like have some fear of Ramirez. But his handlers, like I say, the people that are invested in him, and if they would tell him, ain't no fucking way you're gonna fight that guy right now. If you beat him, first off, if you beat him, a lot of people are going to say, "So what? Who was he? Who the fuck was he? And who had he ever beat?" But if you lose to him, there goes that Canelo payday, the one you was going to use to put your kids through college with. There it goes. It's out the door because you fought that guy,
Well, I
and I
just
can
think going
understand that.
forward, Jerry. In all honesty, we have to be careful of what we place priority on. What boxing is prize fighting. It is, no doubt, and money is important. But there has to be a healthy balance. There has to be, and the answers are there, and folks can move towards the answers if they really want to fix it. They don't. All any of us can do is speculate and throw something out. I want to move on, Jerry, because I mean, I don't know. I'm marking time, just putting it out there. Uh, I don't have enough fingers and toes in the first 8 months of me doing the show to tell y'all how many times I've seen a article about Zerto. So if Golden Boy's objective was to put his name out there, and you're a person that read these articles like all over the country, all over outside the country, just boxing, you consume boxing news on a grand scale. There's no way you could have without learning about Zerto. That's the only way I did because I've never really seen him fight either. But you couldn't help it because somebody was writing something about him, thing like 24/7, and that might have all been by design. Oscar little way of promoting him. But moving on, Triple G got special permission. I'm just making a note of this because I don't know what this gonna mean, but I found it interesting that Triple G got special permission from the WBA to go up and wait to fight Canelo. I think he is a regular champion or something. He's some kind of champion. But if he got permission to go fight him, I take that to mean they're not gonna strip him of his belt or make him choose between one. So I just wanted to put that out. And the last day before we button it up, Jerry, you know what I'm gonna say? Oh damn, Rolly done went too far now. Talking about Bud Crawford. Watch your mouth. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'ma feel about him talking about Bud Crawford the same way I kind of felt in him. Now I will say, because y'all know I totally believe that Spence put his foot in his mouth sometimes inadvertently. He is an introvert. Stick to who you are. When you come out, like somebody said on there, when you come outside of what you are, it just don't look right for you. Broly can do all that crazy shit, and it ain't gonna mean a hill of beans,
Oh,
because
I disagree with
we
that.
well, hold on, because a lot of people expect that from him. Some people might not like it. Some people think he retarded, Jerry. But Rolly wants Earl Spence so bad now that he's slinging mud at Bud and whoever else. He's saying that Bud can't sell no pay per view and thinks he would be better off if EJ and Rolly fight next instead of Bud and him fight next. To that, I say, get the fuck up out of here with that rah rah. That front row seat to some bullshit, because that's what he's selling. Um, he said, I am sure EJ's is that Mando's, like I'm telling you, I'm sure EJ's Mando's will have something to say about it. Because you hear about Stanley only saying, yo, me and EJ got a contract. That after Ugas, it was me. And then you hear, Boo say, hey, yo, I'm the number one contender. Like, hey, yo, what about me? But everybody has to understand that ain't nothing getting in the way of Bud and EJ. That's how most of us feel. Whether you like EJ and don't like Bud, or whether you like Bud and don't like EJ, I think both sides can be unison in the fact that we want them two to fight. Don't give a fuck about them fighting nobody else but each other. And see, that is what I mean, Jerry, when I say you putting emphasis or making more important the money aspect of it all. Because this dude lives in an era where he can say some old nut shit like that. Like, it's about the pay per view. We'll do better. Are you kidding? He would never have said that if there was a healthy balance in how they win their money, the prize of it all, and the fact that they go on for legacy. This guy could say something foolish like this only in this climate. And that's how I feel. All of the folks that should come before him can be discounted because pay per view is a priority. And this is the things, just like I read off the insults he heralded that Earl. I'm going to do the same thing we said about Bud. He said nobody gives a fuck. His words, Jerry, about him. Not even his own city in Nebraska. Nobody gives a shit about him. He also said he is ugly, you know. So listen, I'm gonna keep going. He said nobody he is ugly and can't sell pay-per-view. And a fight with EJ will sell 100 million. Talking about him and EJ. So I'm gonna say nope, nope, nope. People do give a fuck about him, Rolly. And even his city of Nebraska. Also, people give a shit about him. And he is not ugly. So I'm just saying that for the record. Terrence Crawford ain't ugly. And the fight with EJ, and neither is Earl. And he said that about both of them. And neither is Earl, by the way. And a fight with EJ with him is gonna be more profitable than a fight with Bud and him. Ain't nobody think about Rolly like that. I'm not even upset I know people like, yeah, and they ain't talking about your boy. How you feel? No kind of ways. So I'll leave it up. What
Well,
you got to say
I
about it,
mean,
Jerry?
here's what I can tell you. Rolly Romero understands what a lot of boxers since Ali understood. Self promotion is absolute in boxing. If you don't do it, you're likely going to pay some type of consequence. Rolly Romero in his last fight got knocked out, but everybody still talks about Rolly Romero, and in his next fight, he'll probably get a pretty good paycheck, just like Adrian Broner. Adrian Broner did, some outlandish things and would say, stuff. I thought he was corny as hell, but he understood how to get people's attention, whether you loved them or you hated them. All that shit Rolly said is nonsense. Let's face it. But just like he did leading up to the Tank fight, he was saying he was going to knock Tank out in the first round, and he was just talking mad shit. I mean, granted, some fighters just aren't like that. Like you say, they're introverts. Like maybe Bud Crawford might be a good example. Bud will talk a little shit, but he's not going to get outlandish and just spout off out the side of his mouth about shit like Rolly will. But when I see fighters do that, I take it for what it is. And what he's doing is he's trying to self promote, and he's trying to use Earl and Bud, of course, because everybody's talking about Earl and Bud. So somebody's advising that kid. He might be a fucking retard, but somebody's advising him. I think the right way. Say, you look, man, you could keep your mouth shut and just drift into oblivion after you got knocked out by Tank, or you keep playing this role that you're playing. That's your angle, and try to do something with it. And
But you know
also,
how this
he's
started, though, Jared. Let me interject. It started because EJ put him down. He up until that point, he has never said nothing about EJ or Bud. EJ put him down, and voila. But go ahead, Jared.
okay, but I'm just saying everybody's seen since he's got camera on him that he's a bit outlandish, and he seems to understand that will get him attention, and attention means views, and attention adds up to money. Uh, Even if you might not be that good, Adrian Broner proved that. Adrian Broner lost pretty much all of them big fights that he was in, but he was getting them. He was getting them one right after the other, and lost several and got his ass whipped by Maidana and still got the Pacquiao fight. And there's a reason for that. Adrian Broner got people's attention one way or the other, either from his fighting, and a lot of it was from his antics, which, like I say, like Tyson Fury, I think it corny as hell. When Tyson Fury does that singing and that bullshit,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, man, come on, man. But and it
Fucking
sucks. I
boink boink.
think for some fighters like a Bud Crawford who just don't have a personality like that, they don't really want to involve themselves like that. And I think sometimes it hurts them a little bit because they don't get that attention. But what can you do? If you're not that way, you're not going to act that way.
Yeah, yeah,
Spencer's not.
I agree. I agree. For the record, y'all who's listening, I humbly ask you, very humbly,
Humana,
to hit.
humana, humana.
Yeah, I know, humbling. I humbly ask you to hit the subscribe button and hit the like button. You know, hook us up. Don't cost you nothing. If you listen, even if it's just for one night, or that you're gonna listen to me, or even if it's just for a minute that you listen, please hit the subscribe button. Help me get my subscription up because I get a lot of people who look at me, Jerry, and on the replay at that, they don't ever hit the subscribe button. I don't get it. So I have to ask. I'm coming to you as humble as I can. Can you please hit the subscribe button? Hit the like button if you're listening. Even if it's just for a few seconds or whatever. It's not gonna hurt you. I'm not asking for no money. And stay tuned for this commercial. I will
Some
play my
Laverne and
commercial.
Shirley type shit.
Ain't it though, Jerry?
Sounds like
But
Laverne and Shirley up in that bitch.
I know, right? Well, Jared, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Me and you, actually, I think I give us the A+ on handling touchy subjects today. When we was talking about Mike Tyson and everything, we was very
Hmm.
respectful. but anybody who find themselves on either side of the equation. And and like I say, you guys, I can be respectful. I understand touchy subjects, and I want everybody to know when people talk, they don't always talk in absolutes. Somebody absolutely say something that you can't, you know, look at that any other way. Sometimes people mistakenly be like everybody, like when they be like everybody, but that's an absolute type way of talking. But
Right.
people don't mean to talk like that. I certainly don't, and I know Jerry did. But thank you,
Right.
Jerry, for talking. And any closing thoughts?
Nah, just a good show. Me and you, we got good chemistry. We get some shit figured out.
I
Maybe we should team up and do a show because I've been thinking about having my buddy get me with my buddy and start my own YouTube channel.
That'd be cool, Jerry. I'll come to your show. I'll
Yeah.
come.
And otherwise, nah, pretty slow week this week in boxing. I don't know if there's any fights this weekend or what next coming up. I know we talked about that the other night. Um, that's a damn shame. Seems like there should be some bigger and better fights popping off.
Oh, July
Uh,
was kind of busted. We'll see. You got Gonzalez and Dogby. Now that's good. That's a good one, y'all. That's coming on ESPN Plus this weekend,
yeah.
July 23rd at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Okay.
Everything is Eastern Standard Time. And Garcia versus Benavidez, that's pretty good. That's the next week, July 30th, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Oh,
Um,
that's okay.
so
Damn,
those two are good. I'm looking at
That Garcia
August.
fight that crept up on me quick. That's 2 weeks. That's going to be an interesting fight right there.
That
I'm a
is.
Danny Garcia fan. I like Danny. Um, he wasn't able to beat the top guys at 47. Now he's moving up to 54. He's been talking about doing that for a couple of years. I've seen an interview with him the other day. He said he felt bad at 47 and he feels real strong at 54. But it seems to me
Mhm.
like he was a small welterweight. Maybe I don't know if he's just saying that, trying to revive his career, or if he's going to be better at 54. I like Benavidez at 54 because I think he's too big for 47. I thought that when he fought
Crawford.
Bud Crawford, and
He was kind of big there,
Benavidez
yeah.
is he's had 2 daughters, and I heard him talking about that, and that can make a huge difference in a fighter's
Yeah.
mindset. He got a lot more to fight for now, and they both desperately need wins. That should be a good fight.
But then look, coming right out of July, it's a guy named Smith versus Omerson on the zone, August 6th. I don't know who that is, but that fight starting at 2 p.m. But on the same day, Ortiz Jr. So Virgil Ortiz versus McKenzie. That's on the zone August 6th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Rahman versus Paul. I'm actually gonna buy that one. That's August 6th as well at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then coming right behind that the next week, I got to see it. I'm a listen. I know I don't like everything Teofimo says, but I'm a fan of his boxing.
Yeah,
Teofimo Lopez versus Campa. I don't know who this Campa kid is, but
me either.
that's ESPN Plus August 13th at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay. All right. Well,
And
we
then you
got
go
some.
right into Usyk Joshua. So August is okay. August, and then you got Never Ready and Bias, which Never Ready fighting is gonna be a good fight the following week at ESPN August 20th, or not the same day. And so KSI, I'm not interested in that versus Wasabi. That sounds like some YouTube shit. But Pedraza versus Comey on August 27th. Then you roll right into Ruiz versus Ortiz on Fox pay-per-view September 4th. I don't know why that's pay-per-view.
Yeah,
And
I ain't buying that.
Clarissa Shields versus Savannah Marshall on Sky Sports and ESPN Plus September 10th. And then Canelo versus actually, aside from a couple of fights, it's gonna be looking pretty good in these next
Yeah,
2.5 months.
yep, that ain't bad. And that Ruiz Ortiz fight, that's a fight I would watch, but I'm not gonna pay. I'm not gonna pay a pay per view for it. But I think it could be a good fight. Ortiz is old, but he's a pretty rough and rugged, tough dude, and he usually comes to fight. And Andy Ruiz, I think it's a good measuring stick to see where he's at. Uh, Overall, the Clarissa Shield fight. that I like that. I watch her fights. She's kick ass, and this opponent she's in with this time, I think, is hands down the best opponent she's fought so far, and she's for women's boxing, she's fought a pretty high level of opponents across multiple weight classes. But this girl, Marshall, may be the biggest, and I think probably the best so far. And I've watched the press conferences, and I've seen Marshall fight too, and I'm looking forward to that one. I'm a fan of Clarissa Shields.
I forgot Broner and Figueroa is in August as well, on August 20th. So August 20th, you got Joshua and Usyk, you got Broner Figueroa, and then you got Never Ready and Bias. So yeah, that's a boxing fan's dream that night.
Oh yeah.
Now Usyk and Joshua, the second one, the rematch. I'm actually don't think that I'm gonna buy that. I'll be cool with the highlights. Because one, they all way over in Saudi Arabia, and I don't know the time zone, and I don't give a shit about fights that go over there. You lose me when you're going over there and shit. So you want to go over there, and you just telling me it's a man's domain. Y'all keep that shit, and I'll see the highlights. I see you when I see you.
Yeah, well, you know why they go over there,
Yeah,
though,
I know
right?
why they go over there. That's their man's world. I'll stay
No,
in
it's
my
the
lane
money.
or whatever.
It's money. Those
Mhm.
Saudis got crazy old money. That's
That's
why Floyd
fine.
goes over there and fights in Dubai because they got money to just throw away over there. So
It's gonna be a bunch of sausages in that whole damn event. They can have
yeah,
that shit. Um,
yeah, it'll be a big sausage fest for the night, but they're doing it for the money. I would imagine. It's big money when you can get the fights really financed over there because they do business different than what's done here. But
Jerry, you know I want to say more, but I ain't gonna
huh?
put my foot in my mouth. You know I would say more. That's why
Who do
they
you
gotta
think
go
who do you think
all the
wins
way
that?
over there.
Who do you think wins that fight, Joshua and Usyk?
From what I'm hearing, Usyk, um, I never count Joshua out because he came back against Ruiz. And
Yeah,
it was Ruiz to lose. And he lost it. He's he learned from his mistake. He's a nice guy. Ruiz he's growing on me. I like him as a person. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if he ever gets, back to that level, but he's like a champion like that. Or maybe because Ruiz is asking to fight Wilder. If he ever get that fight and beat Wilder, what will fame and fortune really to him? I don't know. I have to get that fight and beat Wilder. What will fame and fortune in at the last minute? Turn me off in the back, y'all.
What up,
But
Tony?
it was good. Usyk and I got Usyk. They say he knocking motherfuckers out in his training camp.
yeah, I've seen that, but they're sparring partners. A lot of fighters beat up their sparring partners. They're sparring partners. Season. Uh, I didn't. I've seen that, but that don't mean nothing.
Man, I
So hold
think you're
on.
gonna whoop Joshua ass again.
ATL, what you got on everything? I don't know if you was listening. You
I
got caught
wasn't.
up.
I
Was
just came
busy,
back in. I heard the beginning
and you bowed out because we
about the
talking about
Mike
Mike
Tyson
Tyson.
story. Yeah.
Yeah, me and Jared respectfully handled that whole thing. We
Oh
talked
yeah.
about the rape in depth, and I don't mind. Listen, I don't get offended by how nobody feel because, as I told Jerry, the way women are raised, especially when I was being raised, the OGs would tell you, some of the older women would tell you how to prepare yourself for this world you about to step in,
Exactly.
things that can happen, and this, that, and the other. So even though it's not real credible to say to somebody all the way, but you knew what you was doing because you went up there late. But you don't really know because that's not said. That's never really said explicitly. Yo, if you come up to my room at 2 o'clock or 1:30 at night, you getting fucked.
Exactly.
Nobody says that. So it's not credible to use that as an excuse. But like I told Jerry, women
Hey, what
and
about this Usyk and Joshua ass whooping though? I know you finna get off. I want to talk
yeah,
about that real quick.
yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that. Usyk, like I said, he knocking out folks in sparring. As Jerry said, it's just sparring. But what that tells me, Jerry, is that coming out the war, I said you're gonna either sink or you're gonna swim.
Yeah, you know, he probably got PTSD and everything. He finna whoop Joshua ass in that motherfucker.
That's how like I said, you will be able to tell and how he training and shit, what kind of mindset he got. Because I mean, you're gonna be tougher
he's
or
training hard, and he already has one victory over. My thing is I watched the fight that night live, and I watched it a couple other times because I've seen seemingly a lot of people, seemingly anyway, a good amount of people seem to think that fight was one sided or something, but. I mean, I've been watching fights 40 plus years, and I watched that fight a couple of times, and I just didn't see it one sided. In fact, I've seen it as a very close fight up until about the 10th round. Around the 10th round, Joshua, he couldn't keep the pace any longer, and Usyk pulled away from him in the last 3 rounds.
Miss T.
no,
Hey, Usyk gonna hear that bell. He gonna fuck somebody up.
I'll go crazy. I think he
Well, I mean, he had 12
He gonna
rounds.
put that shit into war or some shit when he hear that bell. Bing! He gonna fuck somebody up.
He already in that warrior like mentality there.
Yeah, he gonna
I
fuck
said,
Joshua.
I mean, he may be, but that's hyperbole, really.
Anybody want to bet? You know, I'm always on here to bet.
Because his country's at war, that he ought
put
to
your money where your mouth is.
What I'm saying, Jerry, is war is very stressful.
Jerry, you want to bet? Who you got?
So
sometimes, like I say, I don't know that Joshua wins the fight. My point simply is this:
you gotta pick a side, man.
Joshua in the first fight. The fight was close. Usyk won. I think I had it 15-1-12. I had Usyk up by 3 rounds. Going into the 10th round, they were trading rounds off back and forth. It was clear that Usyk was a little quicker than Anthony Joshua and a little sharper too. But Joshua, there's for sure, he went and got a new coach in the last 6 months. He ain't just been sitting around. He's going
Have you seen any of his workouts yet? Anybody?
Nah. He went and got Robert Garcia. That ain't telling me shit.
But you ain't seen no workout footage?
Nah, I ain't seen none.
Oh,
listen, Joshua always got a chance. I give it to him. The dude was an Olympian for a reason. I think Usyk kind of dominated that fight that they had together. Like you say, he was more sharper. He was more crisp. He was landing more shots in pertinent places.
I'm sorry, man. He's scared of Usyk. He's scared of him.
Joshua, if Usyk come in shape,
rematch him.
He's scared of him, bro.
That guy ain't scared.
I've seen it at the face-off.
Nah, he ain't scared.
I ain't even look at that face-off.
Bet me then.
What? Look, I'll write it down. Jerry,
that's all you gotta do.
I'll write it down, Jerry.
If I was going to pick a winner in the fight, I'd probably pick Usyk to win the fight.
Okay.
Close fight.
That's what I'm talking about.
Like winning a decision, but I don't rule out
decision. No, I bet you $100 knockout.
You think you $100 that Usyk knocks
$100 Usyk knock Joshua out? No Pacific round. He just gonna knock him out.
I mean, that's
so if he don't knock him out,
I pay him $100.
Okay.
I pay him $100 if he don't.
He ain't saying win or lose, Jerry. He's just saying Usyk gonna knock him out. So even if Joshua
I know, I heard him, and he very well could knock him out. Let's face it, he's been knocked out before. He got knocked out. He got knocked out and beat up far worse by Andy Ruiz than anything Usyk did to him. Ruiz knocked him down 4 times and made him quit.
Ruiz. Ruiz.
Man, Usyk just came back from running from bombs and shit. You got like fucked up.
No, but Ruiz did beat Joshua better than Usyk beat him. I must agree with you, Jerry, on that one. Let me ask y'all before we get out of here. Broner and Figueroa. As much as I always root for Broner, and it ain't got nothing to do with his last acts or whatever, because we know he left the podcast with Brian Custer and everything. I don't care about none of that. He looks sober. I love how his beard looked. I mean, he looked like he had
You stupid. She said, "I love how his beard look."
I mean, he looked. You know what I'm saying? He looked together. You know what I'm saying? Instead of the shuffle, and that's why I was pointing out his beard because he back.
Only way he gonna win, Miss T, if he throw his fucking hands.
Bruno don't ever do it, and that's why I got Figueroa.
Damn.
And
Adrian Brown, if you out there listening, throw your hands, bro, please.
We be
You got
wanting you to
great
throw
defense.
your hands.
Jesus,
We be
throw your
begging,
hands.
we be screaming. I done damn near threw
Throw
shit at
your
my
hands, my nigga.
but not throwing his hand. But Figueroa, I think he the wrong person to get in with, and you ain't gonna throw your hands.
And that's where I got to give Broner credit. That's one thing I like about Adrian Broner. He doesn't shy away from getting in there with some tough and some tough fights. Mm-hmm. Now Figueroa,
yeah, because he got defense. He got defense.
Hold on, ATL. Go ahead, Jerry.
Well, Figueroa is not. Let's he's not a Hall of Famer or some spooky good pound for pound fighter, but everybody knows how he and his brother both fight. Mm-hmm. They really come to fight, and I gotta feel that Broner probably has a status big enough now that for coming back, he probably could have took. This guy is telling me something. It's always the same with Adrian Broner. If he's focused and prepared, then he's even competition for a lot of guys. Whether he beats them or not that's why they fight the fights. But he's shown that he's got what it takes to be even top competition for pretty much anyone in that weight class, 140 or so. But that's what we got to find out. But I do give him props for taking on a pretty good fighter coming back.
How you see this fight playing out, ATL?
I don't even know, Miss T. I ain't gonna lie to you. I got it 50-50.
For Broner and Figueroa?
Yep.
I got Figueroa laying on his chest and somehow another bending them long ass arms and catching him on the side and face and everywhere.
I'm gonna tell you why I feel the way I feel, because the last two Adrian Broner fights, man, he didn't throw his hands.
Yeah.
Unless he do that, then he got the fight. If he don't do that and he go into the defensive again, and
what's sad is he could be one of the best fighters out there right now.
Exactly, and I believe in that.
He have what it takes. He again the biggest issue. Won't let his hands go. But stay tuned for this commercial. I gotta play it through.
Another thing to consider about this fight with Adrian Broner is I think it's a must-win fight for him.
What was that, Miss T?
Yeah, you better. That's my commercial. That's my sponsor.
You might get some extra views for that one, goddamn.
Nah. Listen. Did y'all see it? Like, let me ask you.
Hell no, that shit went by like 1.5 seconds, goddamn. That shit was gone.
Pay attention to what it say. What is it?
I didn't hear you say anything. What's it say?
Hey, Miss, I got 500. I just got over 510 subscribers and 100,000 views.
Did you?
Yeah.
Congratulations. You did.
Appreciate it.
You went live, because I know the last time you always tell me that you do recording.
I did a video for it.
Okay. That's great. Congratulations, and here's to having many more. I just
appreciate
that thing by my sponsor, and my sponsor is me. I'm showing it said breaking news, win a 55-inch was a 55-inch television, Samsung Smart TV, brand new in the box, 1,200 subscribers, going out to 48 states. It's all on me. Like, so everybody in the 48 can play, and it's on me to get it to you.
So your 1,200 subscriber get it?
Once you get to 1,200, then I will go ahead and open up the raffle.
Okay. What's up?
So that's what that commercial break is. I gotta pay attention to the commercial.
Nah, you did that shit fast ahead. That shit went by fast.
But if y'all paying, somebody gonna be paying attention one day. But yeah, but between here, starting this weekend till September, every week it should be a decent fight. We had some doozies in the month. July wasn't that hot, but we got some decent fights coming up,
Mm-hmm.
so we should be good. Closing thoughts, Jerry.
No, just a good show. Thanks for having me on here to wrap it with y'all a little bit. Just praise God, and hopefully we get this Crawford fight every day. Every day I come home and check online to see, hoping to see fights signed.
You
Is
see a
all.
new lie.
Well,
Yeah,
well,
if it doesn't,
well.
if it,
Remember, I told y'all Bernie the boxers said as per Crawford. So we gonna believe anybody. Like I said, it had to be Team Spence or Team
I don't
Crawford.
believe nobody.
Nobody. But y'all see, I ain't really putting it out. But people
I don't
bring
believe
it up.
nobody. Till I see motherfucking top ranker PBC with a date, I don't want to hear shit.
my feeling is if that fight takes place, if it's going to take place in November,
I need a whole video.
In the next couple of weeks, they have to announce it.
Straight up.
That fight's going to need promotion, and the whole thing's going to have. That's just 3 months. They're going to have to announce it if the fight's going to be made in the fall. And if it doesn't get made in the fall, it may not happen at all.
Yeah, well, then that would it be. I'm trying not to be pessimistic. I'm gonna be optimistic. I do give it a little credence because Bernie said it and he got it from the horse's mouth. And we know that Bernie has close ties and relationships with Team Crawford and Crawford himself. So it's more so easier for me to hear it that way than to hear any people that be acting. I ain't gonna say acting that say that they're in close ties with either one of them. Because I only know the close tie of Bernie to Bud and then Bomac, and then with Spence, it's gonna be Spence, his father, and maybe Derek James. So unless it come out of either one of their mouths, that's what I always say. I don't give it no.
Exactly.
And it came out of Bernie's mouth. So I give it a little credence, but nothing is official yet. And Bernie did say that. He said there's some minor details that still have to be worked out. But it's pretty much Bud say, no, hey, it is what it is.
She said Bud. Bud.
And my boy.
Remember on the Cosby Show? Bud.
Yeah. Oh, that's just Bud. ATL, so what's your final thoughts? I know you got in here late, player.
Man, I got in here late. My final thoughts, man, I love y'all. I appreciate every time I come on here fucking with y'all, man. You know what I'm saying? And I see y'all probably tomorrow too, you know.
All right, cool. Congratulations on getting the viewership up. Hope many more come.
Yes.
And much more success. When you start going live, let me know.
You know, we gonna talk some business. We gotta come. I told you we gotta come up with a show together one day this week where we just me and you be on there. I can be on there the whole show.
Okay, yeah. Anytime, you welcome. Y'all know that I come on, as y'all see at the bottom, Monday through Friday, 30 p.m. to standard time.
I'm trying to do better now.
Yeah. Don't forget to subscribe and see, like, if you're busy, because I'm retired, y'all, so I definitely can be there. That something happened, and I let you guys know. I know some of y'all tired of being like, girl, you always sick or something. It is what it is. But I'm gonna be there unless I am sick. That's the only thing that's gonna keep me away from it. Or if I go on vacation, I'll tell y'all ahead of time. Y'all ain't gonna see me for the next 3 days. I'm going
Miss T, you on Instagram?
Yeah, and it's called shit. I hardly ever use it. TD is TEEY TEE 50. All one word.
You said it's what?
It's TDT TEEEY.
Oh hell no, I ain't gonna remember that shit.
50.
You gotta send me that link or something.
TDT 50.
I can't
Y'all
remember.
see my name, TT. That's what people call me. But you know how Martin said, Marty Ma love the kids?
Yeah.
And then I used to say that, it's a comic relief joke to break up the monotony when we on the ship. I be like, TDT, love the kids, shit like that. And you had to be there on the boat. It's
You
getting
might
real.
be better off trying to find me on that motherfucker.
What are you?
I'll see
It's
y'all.
ATL underscore unanimous, I think, underscore boxing. You'll see it on there. Sport, same shit with my name.
What you say, Jerry?
I got band practice tomorrow night, so I'll talk to y'all Friday.
Let me
Oh
find
shit,
out.
you got a YouTube channel for your band?
I know, Jerry.
Some of my bands in the past, I've had some stuff on YouTube. Yeah.
Let me find out, Jerry.
I listen to all type of music, so
You
you know what I'm
playing
saying?
that
You got a
go-go music?
page, you know what I'm saying? Put your link somewhere.
Where you say you live,
Yeah.
Jerry, in Baltimore, right?
Yeah.
Let me
My
find out.
sperm donor out there.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, I've played all kinds of music and all kinds
Crazy.
of bands, R&B bands, 70s disco funk
Jerry,
bands. My favorite
want to
stuff
impress
to
me
play.
You
real
said
good, right?
Cisco.
Listen, Jerry,
Yeah, disco, funk, 70s groove.
oh
Hell
my
no.
God.
Al
Jerry,
Green.
check it out. I know I'm interrupting. Want to really send me through the roof? Tell me you know how to play go-go music.
I know how to play what?
Go-go music.
Go-go music?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
the fuck?
Uh-oh. You
I
done
play
started something now, Jerry.
I like all like my man here. I like all kinds of music, and I like playing a lot of different kind of stuff. But my favorite stuff is funk, funk and groove stuff.
So he listened to that P-Funk
Oh, shit, hit him
and
on
that
my
damn,
Yeah.
them old school bands, back in the '70s, like the Barclays and what's the Cool in the Gang and all them
Funkadelic,
motherfuckers. Yeah. You
Average White Band,
yeah, I like
all
it.
the '70s funk stuff.
Hey,
I like
what
all of it.
about Chuck Brown?
Rick
You listen?
James.
You got your collection of Chuck Brown?
Yeah, Rick James. He was a big influence on me.
He said Rick James. Ooh.
Damn,
Yeah,
Jerry.
I love Rick James. You ever see that documentary on Rick James that comes on Showtime?
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
saw that one.
That shit's good. I've watched that several times.
Oh shit. It was
Yeah.
cold as ice.
American Rick James. He was something
Hey,
else.
man, I grew up on that shit too. Jerry, we probably about the same age.
Yeah, I'm 53.
I'm a little bit younger than you, a few years.
70s music is my favorite era of
Hey.
any music, rock, and blues, you know, country. Because I like country music too. I like the '70s stuff.
Hey, you know
And
what? Rest in peace. The first Mrs. Trump.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Rest in peace to
Trump's
her.
first wife. Yeah.
Yeah, the first Mrs. Trump, Ivana
Yeah.
Trump. He passed at, I think she was 77, somewhere up there in there, mid 70s to late 70s. I don't know what
Was
she
that
died from, but he's elderly, so
My condolences.
yeah.
it?
Yeah, it looked like it hurt. It looked like her sons and like as anybody would when their mother passed, but you so used to not seeing them have emotion. Even Donald looked a little, little emotional as he could if he could be emotional.
Yeah, that's a different type of loss right there. I tell
Yeah,
everybody that all the time, like family members and stuff like that, but people you actually been with and love, that's a different type of loss. Like if you ain't been through it, you don't understand.
exactly. You don't have to go through it to understand. To me, but yeah. So so rest in peace to her and anybody else that has passed recently.
Rest in
Rest in
peace.
peace to them. You know. But yeah, thank y'all for coming through. Y'all know my slogan. Know better, you what? Do better. So until
Glad to
tomorrow.
play.
Peace.
Peace out.